It's a particularly tragic weekend. We had the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife. It's a horrifying story. They were found with their throats slit, reportedly, and it was their son that was who was arrested. We also have the shooting in Bondi Beach, horrifying attack on a Hanukkah celebration. We have the shooting at Brown University, where the suspect is still at large. They had a person of interest who was released, and then, of course, the FBI has announced that they had thwarted a terror attack, a plot planned for New Year's Eve. So when it rains, it pours, they say. Now, Donald Trump has made some insensitive statements, as they're described, about Rob Reiner following his death, and a lot of people are upset about it. I think it's fair to say Donald Trump has a reason to be upset with Rob Reiner, who donated a lot of money going after him, accusing him of working for Russia and like being part of this Russian attack, as he described it, on the United States. But Rob Reiner was a Hollywood legend. He's friends with many conservatives. He was very gracious when Charlie Kirk was murdered. My understanding is that James Woods had pointed out that they are very good friends and have been for a very long time. And so this is a man who he had Trump derangement syndrome, sure, but he was a legend. And I will tell you this: I know most of you can. I can recite probably from memory many of his movies. Princess Bride, hands down. I can probably just recite the whole movie from memory. So this is horrifying. And I think it's an opportunity for people to kind of, lay down your sword and come together. We're going to talk about that. A lot of people are criticizing Donald Trump. Before we get into all that, my friends, we got a great sponsor for you. It is Beam Dream. Check out, apparently nothing. It's not coming up. Do we just, you want to try and hit it? What happened? We got it. We're going to fix it, guys.
We're in Las Vegas, by the way.
This is what happens. No, that's our control. Go to Beam Dream, shop, BEAM.com / what are we going with? Tim Pool. And you can save 35% off when you click the link in the description below. Beam Dream is your nighttime sleep blend to support better sleep. It is so good, my friends, that as we are out here in Las Vegas, I brought a bunch of their single-use packets because I swear by this stuff. I absolutely love it. It's got magnesium, melatonin, L-theanine. It's got reishi in it. It helps you sleep. It is a delicious cup of hot cocoa right before bed. But there's other flavors too. There's pumpkin spice, there's sea salt caramel, there's peanut butter. It's absolutely fantastic. I recommend it. No sugar added, only 15 calories. And I legit am a huge fan, and I'm not even kidding. I drink it every night before bed, and I sleep beautifully. Today, my lymphatic system drainage was so good that I had no problem with any of my morning work. And I know all you out there, you'd care deeply about your lymphatic drainage. So don't forget to also check out Timcast.com, click join us, and get in the Discord server. With your Discord membership, you sustain everything we do. And there's pre-shows. There's a 6 p.m. pre-show Eastern time, of course. We've got morning shows, all done by the community. And when you guys join the community, you are proving unity is our strength. And you support the work we do. So it's not possible without you. You also get to call in to our uncensored members-only portion of the show, Monday through Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern time, of course. And as always, don't forget to smash that like button. Share the show with everyone you know. This show, all throughout this week, is brought to you by our good friends over at MyPillow. Shout out to Mike Lindell at the crew, and thank you so much for making this possible. Make sure you use promo code TIM. It's the only promo code. Every other promo code is a lie. Okay, it's not fair. Just buy pillows, okay? Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more, we've got Del Bigtree.
Hey, Tim. It's good to be here.
Thanks for coming. Who are you? What do you do?
Yeah, it's great to be here in Las Vegas, sitting at a poker table.
That's right. Poker
About
Go
to gamble
Studios.
with some of the most dangerous headlines, I think, of the year.
Indeed. What do you do? What's your...
Well, my big thing is making sure there's transparency in science and health. I was a director of communications for Robert Kennedy Jr., so it was a big part of getting him into HHS secretary, and I'm pretty stoked to see what the sort of MAHA thing has got going on, and
absolutely
and bringing transparency to very, very, I think it's the most controversial issues really there is when you talk about, looking into vaccines. Are they safe? Are they effective? Are we giving too many, not enough? And reanalyzing that, it should be that we could reanalyze anything in science, but apparently this one is really.
There's big news on the Hep B vaccine for kids too.
Huge.
They're pulling that off. Is that what's happening?
Well, they're not pulling it off, which is what the critics of Bobby said he would always do. You're going to get rid of all the vaccines. The truth is he's doing what I think most Americans would want, which is hepatitis B, sexually transmitted disease. You can only get it if you're sleeping with prostitutes for sharing heroin needles. 99.95% of mothers are not hepatitis B positive. They're negative. So they're blood tested. So there's no reason to give this to a day 1-old baby. So all they said was if a mother's hepatitis B negative, they just had these meetings at CDC last week. If they're hepatitis B negative, they've tested negative, then it's shared decision making between them and their doctor. Let them and their doctor decide if they want to get that vaccine. So nobody yanked the vaccine out of existence. They just said forcing it, recommending it by the CDC, which turns into mandate. And the work I do, I get called all the time by people that are at the hospital. They don't want to get the hepatitis B vaccine to their baby, and the hospital's calling Child Protective Services on them, threatening to take the baby away, threatening to take all their kids away. I mean, it's really obscene for a disease that their child has no risk for if they're negative. So I think that culture is about to shift quite a bit with Robert Kennedy Jr.
Well, it's going to get interesting. Thanks for hanging out. We got Ian
absolutely.
hanging out.
Man, you've done a lot of great. I just for Vaxxed really woke. Really was like a powerful fireball that continued to roll from 2016 on. So thanks for making that movie.
Man,
and the new one, an Inconvenient Study.
Yeah.
Haven't seen it yet, but inconvenientstudy.com.
Yep.
That's where it's
You
at.
can watch it for free.
Watch it for free.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm Ian Crossland. Check out graphene.movie. Get your name in the email list. We did go down to Texas and interview a bunch of badass scientists, nanoscientists about carbon nanotubes and graphene and all that. Graphene.movie. It's going to be awesome. The trailer's coming soon, so get there. You follow me at Ian Crossland. We also have Mr. Tate Brown.
What is going on, Patriots? Tate Brown here, holding it down. I'm excited to be at a poker table because I am all in on America. All right, tough crowd. Happy to be here, coast of Across the Pond. Timcast Noon Live. Excited to get into it.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist, counter-revolutionary, and I am dressed the part. Let's get into it.
You need to get a hoodie so you can go like this.
Got one over there. Maybe I'll put it on. If it's
Shout out to Poker Go for hosting us. This is this studio is so good. So let's get into the news there, my friends. We'll start with this. We've got this from CNN. Trump doubles down on his criticism of slain director Rob Reiner. First, let me give you the quick news for those that have missed this story. I think everybody's seen it. Reiner's son arrested in the deaths of his parents. They say the Nick Reiner, 32, is being held without bail on suspicion of murder after the bodies of the director Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle were found in their home. They say his son, we know this, the arrest on Sunday came the day after the father and son were seen arguing at a party at the home of the comedian Conan O'Brien, according to a party attendee who recalled Rob Reiner telling his son that his behavior was inappropriate. The attendee, who asked not to be named to maintain relationships, did not speak to any of the Reiners at the party and added that it was unclear what the argument was about. The son, Nick Reiner, 32, was arrested Sunday night and was being held in jail in L.A. County, the police said. Jail records viewable online initially indicated that bail had been set at $4 million, but those records had since been modified. He was being held without bail, the police said. So according to numerous reports, they were saying that they were found with stab wounds or their throats slit. Horrifying story. We've got this from CNN addressing Donald Trump's statements. Let's play it.
Trump has already come under criticism for what he has said on his Truth Social platform about Rob Reiner. He accused him of having Trump derangement syndrome. He said he was known to have driven people crazy by his raging obsession with Donald Trump. He called him tortured and struggling, but once very talented. This is what he had to say, of course, upon learning that Rob Reiner and his wife Michelle had passed away. Trump then, just a few moments ago, had this to say in a Q&A with reporters. Let's take a look.
Well, I wasn't a fan of his at all. He was a deranged person as far as Trump is concerned. He said he knew it was false. In fact, it's the exact opposite, that I was a friend of Russia, controlled by Russia. It was the Russia hoax. He was one of the people behind it. I think he hurt himself in career-wise. He became like a deranged person, Trump derangement syndrome. So I was not a fan of Rob Reiner at all in any way, shape, or form. I thought he was very bad for our country.
Homie, it sounds like Trump has Trump derangement syndrome.
Trump has Trump derangement syndrome?
He even talked about himself in the third person when they followed up and asked him to clarify, are you really going to stand behind the comments earlier? He's like, yeah, that's something Trump would think. Like, it's something like that. Like, dude, what? They didn't ask him if he was a fan of Rob Reiner. I don't know what their lead-in question was there, but I'm sure it wasn't that. It's just really gruesome. This is why people hated him in 2016 and didn't want to vote for him. It's why people hated him in 2020 and didn't want to vote for him. This is why. It's because he says stuff like this.
You know, I talked to a fair amount of folks, and the sentiment is fairly universal that this is not the way to handle it. Donald Trump, of course, I think his points are valid, but there's a time and a place. You know what I mean? Rob Reiner was a Hollywood legend, and we want to go back to a time when we disagreed. And this is what I was saying this morning. The disagreements are actually how we solve problems in this country. When one person on the left says, I want this tax policy, and the person on the right says no, and then we work out what is the best way to go about it, and then people vote for the reps. The reps will come and then backstab the American people and then cater to the big banks, the corporations, and big pharmaceuticals, and then nothing ever gets done.
And then we all get screwed together.
Anyway, I'm on a tangent now. My point is, this was an opportunity for Trump to be magnanimous. Everybody's basically saying, I know Rob was, Trump derangement syndrome or whatever, but that era of movies, those movies are the American culture we want to remember. Princess Bride, it's one of the greatest films of all time. Even though the story's a little wonky, it's weird, but it's just so good, so memorable. And I can probably recite the whole thing from memory. Trump had an opportunity to actually say, I know the guy hated me. I know the guy had said bad things about me, but I'm truly sad to see this happen. He did that with Ruth Bader Ginsburg. So
I was thinking, even just a couple of weeks ago with Zoran Mondani, with the way he brought him in and put his big arm around him. I mean, those were attacks going both ways, but it's not like Trump doesn't understand how to do that. He doesn't, in that moment, I thought that was amazing. He makes it like he's his best friend, even though he's like the most liberal, / communist person ever grab office in New York. But Donald Trump brings him in, is totally friendly, congratulates him, amazing job. And so when I saw this, I was like, it's not like Trump doesn't understand the power of sort of playing the nice card, right? I'm in the power position. I can say whatever I want. And in this situation, he just seemed to let it go and decide to let his, it seems like, I don't want to say rage, certainly anger towards everything he's been through. He's been through a lot. I get it. But, these are the last statements made. Why not play nice and take the upper hand?
I think that this
easy.
I think this is I mean, it's typical Trump. I do think that it was bad. I think that he should have been magnanimous. But at the same time, this is going to go away in like one news cycle. No one's going to remember what he said about Rob Reiner. It's a horrible story, the way that Rob Reiner died and his wife died. It's allegedly his son that did it. Obviously we have to see what comes out, and I don't have any kind of inside information about that. I'm only going by reports. But it's a terrible, terrible tragedy to hear that a family was murdered like that by their own kid. The poor daughter is going to be absolutely devastated, of course. So, it's a terrible thing. Like I said, I wish Trump had been a little more magnanimous, but honestly, it's going to go away because people are going to find the next thing to be outraged at Trump about. And to your point, Ian, earlier, I do think that you have some point when you're like, oh, this is one of the things that people hated about Trump was the way that he would behave. But I don't think that if he were a magnanimous person all the time and spoke softly and was kind, I don't think the left would have a significantly different opinion on him if his policies were the same, right? The idea that we have to build the wall, the idea that we need to deport illegals, those kind of things are just a total affront to what the left stands for. And I think that no matter how he delivers those messages, they're going to call him a Nazi. They're going to call him all the names. So I understand what you're saying. And to a degree, I think you have a bit of a point. But I think overall, it doesn't matter what Trump says. The policies that Trump wants to have, the left are going to act like he is the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
Remember what they called George Bush? Remember what they called Mitt Romney? And Mitt Romney was the most milquetoast, soft-spoken, polite, politically correct guy you could possibly find in the Republican Party.
Yeah, but I mean, I will say it's really hard to take criticism from and browbeating from people who dunked all over Charlie Kirk when he died, people that ran cover for a candidate in Virginia who threatened to kill Republicans. I mean, it's one thing if it's an internal discussion among MAGA, like, okay, was this appropriate? Was it not? But seeing the left come out and, try to hold Trump's feet to the fire. I mean, we had multiple people coming out saying Trump's been given the off ramp at every moment, or Trump supporters have been given the off ramp at every moment. And it's like, when is enough? And it's like, Trump was brought in to disrupt the status quo. You got to take the good with the bad. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, Ben Shapiro makes this point all the time, and it's a good point. It's like, look, sometimes Trump hits the nail on the head. Sometimes he hits a baby. It is what it is. But there's truth. It's like, I'm not going to take criticism and lectures from people that want me dead. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation.
But the point is, we're trying to present the American people with an alternative to what the left has been doing. And if Charlie Kirk is murdered and then they're jumping up and down dancing, you guys see that viral video of that woman with the fake, like dressed like Erica Kirk dancing around while wiping her eyes to music or whatever?
Yeah.
Just they're going to keep celebrating the murder. They're going to keep mocking the widow because she's not grieving the way they want her to. And Trump has an opportunity to come out and say, that's not us. We don't do that. And this is the point. When all of the weird woke cancel culture stuff was happening, the point was the right was saying, guys, if you're scared of losing your job because those wackos are telling you can't speak, come to our side where we allow you to speak, where no one's going to fire you from your job because you said naughty words or a joke. The position now is, well, I do agree. I'm not going to listen to any one of these wacko lefties who are dancing on Charlie's grave. But I will then say, this is an opportunity for Trump to be like, we're not going to do what they do. Mm-hmm. We are going to be the side where you know that people will genuinely feel bad if you were to die.
Yeah, when he started saying, well, Rob Reiner had TDS. I don't know. He didn't say he had it coming, but he was basically saying, well, this guy had all these problems, so he's kind of justifying why he got murdered. That was what they were doing about Charlie Kirk. Well, he was a Trump guy, so he had it coming. You know, like it's the exact same state of mind. You start victim blaming or like describing how they. And I think it is a cycle. And if you do it, next guy's going to do it again. And then if you don't have someone that shuts the door, it's going to do it again and again and again.
I've heard these stories over and over again, and it was the great Daniel Negreanu, who I referenced recently over things like this with Trump derangement syndrome. It's perfect now that we're in Vegas, because the story he told us on the show was he really believed Trump was all the things they accused him of doing until his buddy actually made him watch the Very Fine People hoax video. And he thought he knew, and that's why he hated Donald Trump, because Trump was doing all these things. He watched the full video finally, and that's when it clicked that Trump never called Nazis fine people. Mm. He realized he was wrong and opened up the door, and he was like, maybe I'm wrong about some other things too, and started looking into it. Yeah. My point is we have to, for a lot of these people, create that opportunity to come over, show them the door, right? And I'll put it like this, guys. You know, to be completely honest, this is actually rather tepid on Trump's part. I don't think he's had anything super egregious. Yeah. He's like, well, you know, yeah, TDS, Trump derangement. I was no fan. It's like, you could be nicer. But it's nothing compared to what the left has been doing. So I still do think we capture a little bit of that. We're nicer. Sure. It's just that I think it's a better opportunity to say, you know, come hang out with us. We're not gonna dance on your grave.
Does he have a comms director? I mean, I don't know if you would
know.
Not
the one that he listens to. No one would want that job. You certainly don't want your name on that job.
Yeah. Oh, that's a
great
look,
game. I don't think he said what you said. I don't think he said he had it coming or anything like that. I mean, I haven't really dissected the information down, but it's basically this guy's been an a-hole my entire existence here. We're not friends. And, I'm going to just have one last statement about that. It lacks, something. But everyone that says, I wish that Donald Trump spoke better. If he just spoke better, I mean, even in 2020 when, he, didn't take the presidency, that was the whole thing. Like, if he just spoke better, the way he speaks got the largest vote in Republican history. And I want to make this point too clear about the Joe Biden, that 2020 election, that not only did he get more Republican votes than anyone in history, I don't believe anyone that year voted for Joe Biden. They voted against Donald Trump. Yeah. We have never seen anything like this human being ever on this planet where 100% of the vote was about one guy. And I know something. I get a lot of negative energy in what I do, and you get used to either you're going to get crushed by it, or you start using it as fuel, and you start using it to wake people up, and get more sound bites and go viral or whatever it is. I think these are those moments where he gets so used to any attention is good attention, and I don't know what he's trying to distract us from this week. There might be something out there, but I think this is a moment where he just misplayed it. But I agree, it's just lacks taste.
Yeah, I mean, you're seeing a lot of people on the right like really pearl clutching over this, and I'm just like, to your point. I mean, with Trump, if he succumbs to the demands of people on the right that are like, oh, he just needs to speak better, he needs to tone it down, he would just perform as well as every other Republican that gets walloped when it's a non-Trump year. All these people that are perfect consultant class. I was like, Trump's rough around the edges. You got to take the good at the bad, because when he's on, and no one else is there. He's a tone setter. I just kind of take the J.D. Vance position that he had with the Politico article where that group chat leaked, where he was just like, look, it's really hard to get worked up over a statement like this. Like Tim said, it's tepid at best. Same thing with the Politico group chat leak. It's really hard to get worked up over that when can we take a look at what they're doing, where they're actively, wishing the death of their political rivals? I mean, like, what are we doing?
Let's jump to this next story. We got this from Fox News, ladies and gentlemen. FBI arrests 4 alleged members of radical pro-Palestinian group accused of plotting New Year's Eve bombings. Individuals self-identified as members of the Turtle Island Liberation Front. So the quick gist here is they were planning to use IEDs, according to the FBI, on New Year's Eve. And apparently their motivation is anti-imperialism. It's not really about pro-Palestine. They are just general leftists who think that the United States is a colonizing force and they want to decolonize. And for this, they wanted to blow people up, according to the FBI. So I can't say that I'm surprised, but what I am, again, not surprised, I guess I'll add this, is that it's not being framed as leftist when it clearly is. The quote, free Palestine, free Hawaii, free Puerto Rico, freeing the world from American imperialism. This is not a right-wing position. And I'm using right-wing in the way the left uses it. When they say that the right is nationalistic authoritarian. Okay, this is the opposite of that. It's anarcho-tyrannical, anti-American. It is clearly aligned with leftist, anti-colonial, decolonized, whatever. But I guarantee you they're going to put it under right-wing, anti-government extremists. And they're not going to classify it as leftist.
I can't imagine. I mean, I don't think you're wrong, but I can't imagine how you can twist yourself into saying that it's right wing. To this point, it's a good thing that Donald Trump has actually started focusing on homegrown terror from the left. This plot right here, obviously, was one of the things one of the reasons why the DOJ should be focusing on this stuff. But you can go back and look the past year at how many leftist attacks on whether they be individuals or businesses or what have you, how much violence they're actually carrying out in the United States. And to think that they're not planning more, considering how they've been essentially marginalized politically, the left does not have the power that it used to. They've been losing over and over and over, and this is how they lash out. So it's good that the DOJ is doing this stuff, and I just want to see more.
Well, some advice to all you anti-imperialists out there. I'm not the biggest fan of what I think is the least worst global system we've ever had. We haven't had a world war in 80 years. That's really cool. If you want to end empire, you got to replace it with something better. Don't just try and destroy what we got. You're going to prison if you do that, and you're going to be seen as a villain. You got to think bigger, make better.
They're going to say they want to replace it with communism or some kind of socialism. That's the goal.
Oh, shall we talk about Animal Farm, the movie?
I really hate what I'm hearing.
I saw you tweet about it that they're
we'll
making an
get in a second,
so
but
ultimately, I don't know. That's what I'm thinking is like these foolish radicals that want to blow things up and they think that that's the step forward. You just got I don't know how to wake them up exactly. But if you're a kid, if you're listening now, don't do that path. Build better things because we can improve on this imperial system and probably we might even be able to decolonize and de-imperialize the world in a better way for everybody. But that's by creating new things.
I just think language is bad.
I think the political violence is going to keep getting worse, and it's not just this like left-right divide, these principal left-right factions, but the internet is creating pockets of tons of different factions. I mean, you only really need 100 wackaloons of any crazy ideology to get political violence to a great degree. This is 4 people. You've got the Zizians, you've got 764. You don't need a left versus right. You've just got wackaloon groups popping up all over the place. That's what's got me worried about the political violence moving forward into next year.
But aren't we playing into this? I mean, we're calling this left or this right, or they're going to say, we're saying it's left. They're going to try to make it right. I mean, when are we going to get to the place where we're back to just these are some crazy people that are against America? I mean, I am very concerned actually because we're all doing it. I mean, I know we talk about how Charlie Kirk was talked about. I mean, I think about this a lot, but we're all carrying hatred for the other side. We're, if you're a conservative, you're terrified of communism in this country. And it's, I mean, when they say, oh, there's a civil war, I mean, we are. I mean, I don't know how a civil war would ever happen with the laziest society the world's ever seen. I mean, that's,
only 3% of Americans fought in the revolution.
Right. But, we are all playing this. And I think that's part of not to go back to the Trump story, but it's what's bothering us is so many of us are going back for the holidays to visit with our families. And we're going to try and really finally get our liberal brothers, sisters, relatives to understand, look how much good is happening here. And a line like that by Trump doesn't help.
Maybe,
but, I mean, we have to, if we do not figure out how to reach across the aisle somehow, we keep calling each other names. It does feel like it's coming one direction, but here we are. Left, is it right? It's a bunch of pro-Palestinians that want to kill Americans for, no reasonable reason.
But I would posit that there actually is an underlying ideology to what's going on here, because leftism fundamentally is deconstructionist. They want to take apart what brings order to the world, these sorts of things. That's where the ideas of decolonization come out. That's why they specifically harp on about Hawaii, harp on about Puerto Rico. So what's happening here is wise from the FBI to keep an eye on these sorts of groups, because fundamentally they do want to take apart what is the United States, and leftism in its natural conclusion is going to result in things like this, because once they feel like they can't achieve means, Oran McIntyre, me and Phil were talking about his interview with was Amy Aiden Paladin, where people with a strong outgroup preference are never going to be satisfied with whoever's in office. They're going to continue to lash out because they're in constant rebellion. So what you're seeing with these people here, this is leftism at its natural conclusion. These are people that are always in a constant rebellion, and no sort of bone that we can throw to them will ever fully satiate them.
It sounds like you're talking about Marxism.
When you bring up decolonization, you have to talk about Franz Fanon, the guy that wrote this book called The Wretched of the Earth. And in the book, it specifically says that decolonization is an inherently violent process.
Yes.
Right? You don't get to have a peaceful change of the guard when you're talking about decolonization. When you're talking about decolonization, you're not talking about just voting in the people that you like. There's always violence associated with it. And so if you've got a group that's saying we want to decolonize, we want to decolonize Hawaii, we want to decolonize, we stand for decolonization of Palestine or what have you. These people aren't looking for a peaceful solution. These people are not going to be debated. These people are violent by their nature. That's why they're attracted to books like The Wretched of the Earth by Franz Fanon. They're attracted to ideologies like the decolonized whatever ideology. This stuff is all leftist violence that you can't reason with. It's inherently violent.
All right,
You have to put these people in jail.
I want to put it like this, because you're saying we keep pointing the finger at each other.
Yeah.
That's why the challenge that we have is the left-right distinction doesn't make any sense, and it's a point we've talked about quite a bit. Right doesn't mean lower taxes. It doesn't mean go to church. To every conservative, I'm a liberal. To every liberal, because liberal doesn't even mean liberal, I'm a conservative or far right.
Right.
So what we're talking about when we say left is there is an ideological zealotry that exists specifically in a group of people. And the right, when we talk about the right, it's actually just what the core of America has been for the past 30 years. So how we call out those who dance on the grave of Charlie Kirk, the right doesn't really have that. Certainly there are some people that they exist, and you're going to have fringe wackos. So you make this point saying, when are we going to go back to just saying that these are extremists? That is what the right is. On the right, almost everybody is always saying violence is wrong, and sometimes there's wackos. The quote-unquote left is largely just a bunch of wackos. So it's fair to say these are just all extremists, but there is a uniqueness to what the left has harbored, what the Democrats are harboring, and the ideas they espouse when they align themselves with, there's thousands upon thousands of videos of people celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Yeah, but I grew up in Boulder, Colorado, so I come from like the crystal cathedral of liberalism, right? It doesn't, that Aspen, Berkeley, and so what I can say is this: I'll go home, I'm going to have arguments with friends and family because they all have a different perspective than I do. But what I will not hear is that they believe in decolonization. And this is what I struggle with is when we say left,
but
I agree that there's this globalist, authoritarian, communist, whatever you want to take it, rush our borders, destroy, water down our society, make us demand that the National Guard come in and take away our rights because we can't handle ourselves and we vote in the nanny state. But what I think is difficult about this time is that I really think that it's more like they're brainwashed or that they're hypnotized, right? They don't actually know what they're fighting for. When we say left, sure, if you're talking about whoever's in charge, whoever the they is, but the people that are watching CNN, MSNBC, they don't actually know what they're a part of. And if they did, if you could wake them up, I think they'd be with us. I think they'd be in the right that you're talking about. I was one.
Agreed. Like there are many people who were formerly of TDS. And this is the issue. There is a left. And then there are people who have aligned themselves ignorantly, and I don't mean that derisively, but ignorantly with these people. And I have these conversations typically with these boomers who are voting Democrat.
Yeah.
And then I mention one Democrat policy, and they say I'm lying. I made it up. There's no way.
Right.
Do you think that there should be abortion up to the point of birth? They go, no one's doing that. I'm like, let me pull up a list for you of all the Democrats. They don't believe it. They won't listen. And so when you have fringe
You're making
leftists,
my point. You're exactly where I'm
and
confused.
so the point is this.
Yeah.
When we point out that there are fringe leftists who are extremists, standing in front of them are a bunch of doofy boomers who are protecting them and voting in their policies, we have a problem. But it's the banality of evil. Just because they're ignorant doesn't mean they're excused for what they're doing.
When they're hypnotized, it's really like trying to crack someone out of a zombie trance.
Yeah.
Still got to put them in jail.
But I agree. But if we're going to get through to people that we care about, then we're going to have to, understand how they think, and they are not thinking as like they're not carrying strong leftist values. To your point, when you lay them out to them, they're like, "No, that's not true. Oh, that's not true. No, that's propaganda. That's what the Trumpers say." They really don't get that. That's what the driving force of their, of what they're voting for is. So somehow, if we keep calling them and labeling them with this ideology that they don't even actually adhere to, I don't think we're going to win this game. There's got to be a better way to get to the people and say, you're being led by people you would not agree with if you could wake up. I'm just, it's semantics in a way.
I think you're underestimating exactly how pervasive this ideology is to young people. If you go to colleges, you have to take some kind of humanities courses to graduate, and the humanities are where this stuff is absolutely prevalent, right? It is everywhere. The idea that the right is imperialist and based on evil, that is pervasive throughout all of the colleges. It's not just a handful of colleges, and it's not just a handful of classes. There was a time a couple of years back where there was an argument that was coming that you heard actual mathematicians making the argument that sometimes 2 + 2 = 5. This kind of ideology is seeping out of the humanities. It's all over the English classes. It's getting into STEM and stuff like that. So I understand your point, and I do think there is a bit of truth to it, because it's not something that everybody is really committed to. But I do think there are a lot of young people that really believe that the West is overall evil. They believe the things that they've heard in their humanities classes, their women's studies classes, anything in the humanities really. But it's basically saying that the West is evil, and if you ascribe to anything that the West does, you're saying that you accept evil. And I think that it's important that we notice that this is not just a very fringe right. It's a lot of people that really have moved out of the colleges and moved into broader society.
I think you're pointing out a generational issue, which is I see it as dealing with my parents, my brother, sister, the kids, I went to school with. They're not quite, but what you are talking about, you're right. I am sort of blind to. I do see what they're teaching in college, and the young people are coming out much more radicalized against.
I'm probably closer to your age than anybody else.
Yeah,
here,
but it's a good point.
I'm
not saying you're not. I think it is a generational issue.
If these people truly, a bunch of them are hypnotized, and you fall into, like Phil, to respond to you, and you fall into saying, "I think you really believe what you're saying," in their hypnotic state, you're like, "No, that's really who you are." That's going to mean you lose to them and you lose to the hypnotist. You have to shatter through that.
It's not as simple as just, having a conversation or two, right? Like the people that believe that the West has colonized the world and has oppressed the entire world. You're not going to sit them down and show them the Trump video where he says no, there were the Very Fine People hoax, and have someone say, "Oh, well, I didn't know that he said that. Now I'm going to change everything." These people have this ideology ingrained in them, and they have for 8, whatever years that they're in college. Their post-grad studies, like, it's all over the place. So it's not just the situation of, hey, we got to talk to our family members, not saying that doesn't work or that's not important. It's just that this is something that it's a societal problem that we have right now. And we can't just say, oh, well, if we just sit down and talk to people, they'll change their opinion. You're going to have to end up putting the violent people in jail, take them out of society because they're looking to destroy society.
Yeah, I mean, because people we were going on to these, to Phil's point, the college campuses are where a lot of this is occurring. We went to the college campuses and they shot us for our trouble. So, I mean, it's like at a certain point when you're dealing with people who fundamentally do not accept the pretense of debate, then we have to believe them when they say these things. We have to accept their presupposition that they just simply don't believe in debate anymore.
Let's jump to this next story. We got breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. The meeting between Candace Owens and Erica Kirk has concluded, and Candace and Erica have both tweeted, with Candace saying that it was an extremely productive meeting. And again, I know there's a lot of people out there, they always say this is just silly drama, doesn't matter. It certainly does matter when the right is being torn apart at the beginning of a midterm year, and we have to win, otherwise Trump doesn't get the back half of a second term. This means that all of the gains get erased. It means Trump's going to get impeached on some nonsense reason. We have the story from the Post Millennial. A report, podcaster Candace Owens met with TPUSA CEO Erica Kirk on Monday after weeks of tension. As a result, Owens said tensions were thawed. The meeting went on for 4.5 hours, and Owens reported that she would give a full rundown on Tuesday, saying Erica and I had an extremely productive 4.5 hour meeting that I think we both feel should have taken place a lot earlier than it did. We agreed much more than I had anticipated. Of course, we also disagreed on various points and people as well. Most importantly, we were able to share intel and clarify intent. I will, of course, have a full rundown for you all tomorrow, as I am currently exhausted, but I wanted to quickly let you guys know that absolutely nothing was held back, and the immediate result was that tensions were thawed. Now, I think this is interesting. As a moment ago, we were talking about the left and the right and people who are brainwashed in these factions, and I think Candace certainly represents another form of zealotry. It's not necessarily a right-wing thing. I know a lot of people say that she's on the right or woke right or whatever it is. But if you look at the Young Turks comments, you can see that Candace has a very, very massive liberal audience. These are regular people who don't know a whole lot about what is going on. And it's really easy to trick people into thinking insane things by, quote unquote, asking questions. The thing is, however, as for Candace and many of these other people that are questioning the assassination of Charlie Kirk, is they're asking questions about things that aren't actually things that have ever happened. They seem to be just making Egyptian planes.
Yeah.
Why are there so many Egyptian planes flying around? Can someone answer this? No, because it's not real. And so when you ask that, and then someone asks it for an answer on the Egyptian planes, and you explain to them it never happened, they don't believe you. They say, no, I don't know about. There's been debunk after debunk after debunk. But what do you do when you have large factions of people who don't know what's going on, lining up in this weird world and dragging everybody down with them?
Usually make a louder, more bright thing for them to look at so that you can realign them and show them the path forward. I think because these people, madness, they talk about madness. Do people experience, I've gone mad? Like, it's kind of funny, it's cliche because it's such a small, but madness is when you're sad or you're in pain and you're confused. When you're hurting and you don't know why. And that's what happened when Charlie was killed. Candace devolved into madness. I've been watching it for 3 months. She's been trying to figure out why. She wants to know why because she's been confused.
No, Ian, that's wrong.
Well, tell me how.
Okay, I'll say things that I probably shouldn't say, but I'm going to say because I always get super heated on this. Candace Owens has the same security team as Turning Point and Charlie Kirk did. She's lying. She has the same security people. I've been digging into this. I've been meeting with people and talking with them, and I shouldn't say too much because there's more that's going to be coming out soon, because rest assured, people are filing legal paperwork against her. Candace has the same security team, or has used the same security companies and the same security personnel as Charlie and Erica did. So when she comes out and is questioning them, she is lying outright. Now, I've invited many of these people to come on. We'll see what happens. We'll see when they can. The issue is, the moment Candace goes on her show to millions of people and lies, litigation begins. And what happens when litigation begins? People don't do interviews about it. She is exploiting this, and she knows she is, to keep people wrapped up in this insanity.
Then there might be a middle ground here because it is insane. And
yeah, it's called Candace.
Maybe she's lying, but it doesn't mean that she hasn't gone mad in some sense. And I think a lot of that's why I'm
Bro,
not being too harsh.
She outed
on
her
people.
own lawyers. She said Egyptian planes were landing at airports where black government SUVs were driving to an address in Delaware, and then she read the address to her own lawyers. She does not vet anything she's talking about. There was a leaked video that came out. Steven Crowder put this out. It is a meeting at the Daily Wire where Jeremy Boring is explaining why they are severing ties with Candace Owens. And one of the things he said was that when he sat down with her, she said, I believe, Candace says this, what the people believe. That's it. She's outright saying she doesn't care what's true and she doesn't believe anything. She is going to say whatever people want her to say so she gets traffic and gets clicks. That's why she flips around and she has this Lost-esque podcast that never concludes a single thought.
Yep.
Now, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? What did she just tweet 2 or 3 days ago? That we think Tyler Robinson didn't act alone. Well, hold on a minute, Ian. You said she wasn't lying, but
Who's
I thought
we?
No, she already said Tyler Robinson didn't do it. So why is she now saying he didn't do it alone? You think she's telling you the truth?
I don't know. I
No,
don't
she-
know.
you-
I don't
she's
follow
lying.
her personally. I
And
like her,
Milo,
but-
Milo played this game where he said, you're doing mind reading. No, that applies to Donald Trump being a bloviating blowhard when he says things that are not true. And then we're asking, did he actually know that? Or is he just saying things because he just does it, right? Because he's wrong. You can be wrong. When Candace insinuates the security team that tended to Charlie Kirk didn't provide aid or were in on it, and she hired those very same people, she's lying. Now, I will say this. I have spoken with security sources who have informed me of this. We will see what this turns into, and I am working on getting these people to come on the show to explain all of this. But one thing I want to add for everybody out there who doesn't know this, there is one big company that does security for everybody. I forgot the name of it, and we always get asked if we use them. We don't. But there's one company that does security for basically everybody. So this has come up before. I'm the first one to bring it up. But I recently had a conversation, and there are people right now, and there are moves being made because Candace is overtly lying.
Hey-
So it'll be interesting when it comes out who these security guys are and who she has worked with to then make claims about them.
It is possible that she is I try not to talk about people behind their back. Candace, if you were here, it'd be easier to say this to your face. It's possible that you're a lying grifter piece of shit and you always have been. It's possible. I don't know. I saw some humanity in you. I think you really love Charlie, and this has been
Why was she
extremely
going around?
painful
Why
for
was she
you.
going around telling people she hated him?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
See,
Because
it's
maybe
like-
she
it's
loved
like-
him and he rebuffed you, Candace. Maybe you loved him and he didn't want to be with
She
you.
was going around in the months before assassination, privately telling people how much she hated him.
You
I
know,
mean, all I know is this is what's really unfortunate about this is we're watching a renaissance right now in this country. We're watching real change happen that's never happened before. We're seeing a government moving quickly to right a bunch of wrongs that have been piled upon us. And whether you want to call it the right, conservatives, Republican, whatever, it's a movement, right? And this is something I deal with, if I'm like, one of the voices of the medical freedom movement, all the infighting and all this talking about, is it controlled opposition? Oh, is Candace controlled opposition? And I've been called controlled opposition. I mean, I always say, whether or not you're controlled opposition, if you're acting like it, this is tearing apart a movement right now. And I think we all have to check in with ourselves. Our desire for drama, our desire to have like this, Kim Kardashian experience or Real Housewives moment, or Charlie's really not, or, we want to bring down, those that did great things. Charlie Kirk did amazing things. I mean, I worked very closely with him and he was great in helping me get Bobby Kennedy with Donald Trump and bringing all that together. And to think that, if you got Maha movement is a powerful movement, it's going to be huge in the midterms. But Charlie's ability to reach the young people and college students was this other powerful factor. These two groups, Bobby, Maha and Charlie, and the work at Turning Point, I think are why Donald Trump is in the position that he's in. And I would say, why would anyone's motivation be to tear down any one of these movements right now? Even there's always problems. There's always bad leadership. There's also always bad people in and around. You're trying to clean them out when you're doing the work yourself. But this is so detrimental to such a powerful movement, and it's undermining now where the kids should have been, in college, campuses having debate what Charlie Kirk brought to this. Candace Owens is just turning this into a disgusting, mud wrestling, shit fest.
Well, the
really,
money's
and
good.
it's really. I'm sure the money is great, but I don't know what her motivations are. I'm always trying to speak to the people. Don't follow people that tear us apart. Like, maybe they're having a bad day. Maybe she's off a rocker. I don't know. She might even have the truth, but what good is it doing? Even if it was true, what good is it doing?
Well,
But it's
the
tearing
question-
apart great work that's been done and kids and students that believe in an ideal.
What is true? You said even
What-
if it's true, what?
Even if whatever she's saying,
She's never said anything.
huh?
She's never said anything. Every single thing she does is ask a question about something that's
It's a good
unrelated.
point.
She's
Yeah.
never concluded anything.
Yeah.
Except that Charlie Kirk was betrayed by Turning Point. What does that even mean?
Right.
When you come out and say, clearly she's insinuating that Turning Point killed Charlie, she goes, I never said that.
But the
They
argument is,
betrayed him. What does that mean?
even if someone says
They
something
didn't
that's
pay for his
true,
lunch?
but they use the truth in a way to divide and destroy a movement that's actually helping us, then that person that's speaking that truth is bad for society in that moment. And you should avoid that truth right now. Like, that can happen. Some truths are not, it's not time, you know?
I completely disagree.
No,
And
it's not always time to say what you're thinking that's real, you know,
No, I think people should always tell the truth.
with discernment.
Like for security clearance issues, you don't reveal certain
And
information.
if someone gets killed the next
But I
day, you
think
don't
it's-
go out and say, this is how I feel about that person, and these are all the things they said to me. And
I suppose you can have timing on your feelings. And we're talking about the idea of like a white lie. The idea is don't call your wife fat because you don't want to hurt her feelings. We're not talking about that. We're talking about a coalition that is fighting against very, very dangerous forces. Mask mandates, lockdowns, mandated medications. And the Republicans have not been great, but they've been better.
Yeah.
And I will take speed bump for the machine state over voting for the machine state. And Candace will take throwing a stick of dynamite into at the speed bump, allowing the machine state to carry on at full speed.
Yeah. I mean, well, like Candace fundamentally, she's, in my opinion, I don't think you guys might disagree, but in my opinion, she's downstream from the larger issue, which is the incentive structure that has been set up in polemics, quite frankly, because Tim makes this point all the time, is that political commentary in many ways is dead because it's just about how can you generate the most unbelievable narratives, that sort of thing. Hard-hitting reporting, analysis, these sorts of things, these are boring, people. You need to shock and awe and these sorts of things. So all Candace is fundamentally doing here, among other things, is just responding to the incentive structures that are currently set up in political commentary.
I'll put it like this. I consider where we are right now the off season. That's how we describe it. It's the holiday season, so it's the off season for the year, and then we're after a presidential election, so there's no big politics happening right now. Political and news shows are not the forefront. Currently, we have around 40,000 people watching, concurrent viewers. 10 months ago, we had 80. So our concurrent viewership is much lower today, likely, again, to the holidays, but also who cares about politics at this moment? Candace is having a renaissance herself. How? Look, if you want to increase viewership, you have to create the interest. And if we just talk about what is, people eventually say, I get it. When the elections are coming up, I'll pay more attention. Candace goes, Bridget Macron's a man. They're trying to kill me. Israel's taking over, and Charlie was killed by the French Foreign Legion. It's like just throwing the most psychotic things out there because it will get you those views at a time when people aren't really that interested.
When has Candace ever really talked about politics? She dances around political people and talks about drama, but she's not talking about
When
policy.
she was at the Daily Wire, she did.
Yes, but I'm talking about, well, fair enough. But since she started her own show, she hasn't been a political person. She's been a drama person. She's been talking about, nothing that she's been talking about is actually about policy. She hasn't brought up any kind of, I don't think she talks about the border or any kind of political issue at all. It's all about drama.
Here's the game she plays. It doesn't work with an audience like the one that we have, which is higher brow news discerning individuals who are trying to fill in the gaps for things they largely know about and get the latest information up to date. But for a general audience, you can make a real interesting show by saying something like, I heard Israeli planes had been flying around Candace's house. Flying around her house. Why? What's Candace doing with Israel? Why is she doing that? You start saying things like that, and what happens? People go out and they go, whoa, why is Candace working with Israel? I never said that. I never even said that it was true. I just said I heard. From who? There was a bum in the alley on my way here who was screaming about it. I heard it. Now I can say it, and she can't sue me. This is the game that she's playing. And for regular people, they're entertained by it. But it is some of the most dangerous and vile political content there could be. That is, if you want to talk about Sasquatch, I really don't care. If you want to claim that UFOs came and abducted your grandma and replaced her with Sasquatch, that sounds actually pretty funny. I'd listen to that. But if you're altering the voting patterns of people so that the machine state can take back over and do the things they did to us and engage in the evil they engaged in, I got problems with that.
I'm always amazed who keeps listening to someone that never finishes. I mean, I dealt with there's a little bit with Bobby and the Olivia Nuzzi story, which Candace kept saying, "I've got the facts. I'm dropping them tomorrow. Here it comes. Here it comes." Never came. How does our audience put up with that? I mean, I don't even understand that. Like, if you never
Have you ever watched
deliver
Lost?
the goods, it's just
Not-
lost.
yeah.
They're just caught up in a never-ending story.
You've got Lost. You've got From. Have you heard of the show From?
No.
No.
I am so offended by that show because even the name is lowbrow. Like, Lost still insinuates something. It's like people are lost on an island. They don't know what's going on. Every episode was just random nothing. Then you make the show From, and now it's like it references literally nothing. It's just doesn't mean anything, and the show literally is meaningless. And then my least favorite of all is Severance, which is another one of these shows. And it's funny when I talk to people about it, and they're like, "This is not a mystery box show." I'm like, "Then what were the sheep for? The lambs? What was the room full of lambs for? Answer the question." It's all nothing. So that's why we're gonna wrap up every Timcast IRL now with a cliffhanger to make people yearning to come back for more. So just don't forget, every time the show ends, we need to make a loud. We should choose a random noise, just like a random noise of some loud car crash or a clown or a shrieking woman, and then we'll go, "Oh my god!" and you'll play a noise of like dogs barking, and we'll go, "Oh!" and then we'll just turn the show off, and then everyone's gonna be like, "Oh man, tune in next time to Timcast IRL to see what happened."
I think we did a show where it was all empty chairs and it got more it had like 50,000 live viewers just watching an empty studio.
Well, that was because we got swatted.
Yeah, we all exited the building, but we left the show running for like an hour, and it was people
like
love the
3
drama.
hours.
They're like, "I want to see if they come back. I want to know what's."
And then the police walked in with the dog and walked around, and everybody was the
cliffhanger.
viewership was going up.
That's the human brain. They want to know. I don't know. There's definitely
Indeed.
some mammalian thing in there.
Let's talk about this. We got this story from the AV Club. The trailer for Andy Serkis's Animal Farm won't help you with your book report. The trailer for Andy Serkis's animated adaptation of Animal Farm gets stranger as it goes. In its defense, even as Portugal the Man's Feel It Still blares over the soundtrack, we can see the bones of Orwell's novella within the updates. The pigs reject slaughter, run off their farmer, and briefly find peace. Okay, here's the point. Angel Studios has acquired distribution rights for a film called Animal Farm. And the reason I say it's called Animal Farm, because it has almost nothing to do with the book Animal Farm, which was allegory for the rise of Stalin and the faults of communism. This movie is about communists who succeed until an evil capitalist corrupts some of the pigs and then weasels their way back in. And it's the capitalism that disrupts the communist utopia. And mark my words, I'm willing to bet at the end of this film, the communist animals will succeed and have their successful communist utopia.
This is actually reminiscent of a tweet that I saw, and I don't know if it was because of this show coming out or what, but there was a guy that was saying actually the original meaning of Animal Farm was that capitalism is bad because the pigs become like the farmer, and so it's actually a critique of capitalism. It's not a critique of socialism, which is totally retconning. Even what's his name? I forget the guy that wrote it, but
George Orwell.
Even Orwell wrote that this was specifically a critique of communism, critique of Stalinism, and how the corrupting feature of Stalinism is the people that are in power become better than all of the rest of the people. There's never a true communist utopia, and it can't ever happen. But that fact is totally lost on this. It seems like it's totally lost on this new show because this is just going to totally spin the meaning of the original story.
Communism generally devolves into vanguardism, which is what happens in Animal Farm. They say, "Hey, we're all in this together," and then a small group of them take over, and they are capitalists. Those guys, they're oligarchs, and they trade with the people in the other farms that you don't ever see in the book. So you might want to blame, "Hey, they're capitalists, those pigs." No, they used communism, the idea of communism, to trick people into allowing their vanguard to take totalitarian control. That's what that book is about. And yes, of course they served in the capitalist monetary system. Why wouldn't you at that point? It's the best, least worst system we have.
I think that I have a different opinion on what the vanguard is, because the vanguard was, according to Lenin, the vanguard was necessary to show basically the plebs that you need to have the socialist utopia ushered in. The vanguard were a small minority that made everybody else become communist.
Those are the pigs in the book.
Okay, all right.
The
So-
communists. So this is once again we're on track for. I'll put it this way: like every villain in every media is just Hitler. You know, not literally all the time, but most of the bad guys are always one-dimensional, and they try to have it be some kind of like supremacy problem. When you actually have media that would be great to show young people communism is bad, they turn it into capitalist bad. And some of the critiques are that the billionaire seems to be driving a Cybertruck. Uh-huh. And the story now apparently is that a big evil corporation runs factory farms for profit, and the animals are going to be slaughtered, fight back, and take over and create a utopia where they get to sell their own services. The animals then begin selling their services to humans who are interested, and there's a scene where a chicken takes money from a human, and they're like, yay. Then the evil corporation tries to take the farm back and corrupts the pigs. The point is, they have taken a book that is explicitly anti-communist and turned it into purely anti-capitalist because communists run Hollywood.
It sounds like they're identifying problems in corporatocracy, which is interesting. Not what Animal Farm really was about, but the farmer was like the corporate autocrat. And so the corporatocracy is very dangerous. It's one of the downfalls of capitalism is unchecked. Corporations can become their own governments and have their own territory and militaries. So you got to find a middle ground between pure corporatocracy and pure communist. You have, well, not pure, totalitarian, I guess you call it vanguardist, because real communism cannot feasibly exist as far as I can tell.
Do you think Angel Studios just didn't do any research into this and acquired the rights because they thought it was actually Animal Farm?
I mean, that's kind of what I would hope, because I would hope that Angel Studios wouldn't put this out if it's basically retconning Animal Farm. The story in Animal Farm was pretty clear, and it was a great critique of communism, and Stalinism, more to the point. But to retcon it and allow the story
and
to
create
be
a pro-communist message,
yeah,
now
to
for
be
kids.
twisted, it's exactly for kids. It's just it's a shame.
We're in Las Vegas right now, of course, as everybody knows. And I've been hearing a lot about how Vegas is dying. And year over year, tourism is down and just general attendance to shows and things like that. And I don't actually think it's because people don't want to go to Vegas. We had talked about this, and I was like, maybe it's probably because they're opening casinos everywhere. Why go to Vegas when you got a casino down the street from you, right? I actually think it's because there's no kids. I think it's because we are in a major fertility crisis and population is shrinking. So everything population related is going to shrink too. And it's going to shrink in these associated ways. I bring this up because I don't know how concerned I am with them making a kids movie for people who don't exist, right?
Yeah, right. There are no kids to watch it.
We have many other problems with our country, and that is what's going to happen next year as we're entering our, technically it's the second full year of no new labor market entrants, or I should say minimal. So we talked about how last year, actually no, I think 2025, so this year, was supposed to be the year that 2007 finally hit. Financial crisis happens, nobody has kids. 18 years later, we don't have kids entering universities. We don't have kids entering the job market. So now, of course, the Democrats are like, open the borders and flood the country with new people who are going to fill these roles. But you can't, because those 18-year-olds were going to be going to college for specialty degrees. You can't replace, management education, in management and training with Honduran farmers. So now, with Trump and the deportations, I don't even know where we go next year in terms of property values, the economy in general. I think the economy is very, very bad right now. And I think it's reflected in ad rates across the board on YouTube, which in December should be massive. And they're not. They're stagnant. And this means that small businesses are not advertising.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any way to poke holes in that theory. It is true that a lot of people have been putting off having kids for so long. I mean, I'm 50 and I just had my first kid.
So what do you do? What do you do if next year the market's going to implode?
Buy a house after it implodes.
You see gold?
Put your crypto. This isn't advice, but you would put your crypto in like Tether and hold like a stable coin. So when the value of Bitcoin goes down $40,000, you buy the Bitcoin back. And you basically double your money.
But if the
gold is at $4,342.
Yep,
that's crazy.
That's a lot of money. I mean, when I first moved down to West Virginia to start coming on the show, I was buying gold coins at $2,000 a piece.
Yeah, like what was it trading at 5 years ago?
5 years.
It was like
around
2,000.
Yeah.
Gosh.
It stayed very stable from like 2012
Look at that.
to
Nah,
no
it was 18.
1,800. Right?
Yeah.
And that was with COVID instability as well.
Bro.
Yeah.
Look at this, dude. In 2016, it was 1,000.
Yeah.
That's wild.
So
2020 was crazy.
well, it's
But
2020. We printed a boatload
the
of
price,
dollars.
it's the last year of Biden, really. The last year of Biden, it went from 2,000 to 3,000, and now Trump's been in for a year. It's skyrocketing. I don't think people realize how cooked we are.
What year was the first year that we had to start paying $1 trillion in interest payments?
I don't
Was it
know.
last year. So I think that honestly, I think that the number, $1 trillion in interest payments per year to service our debt, I think that kind of started resonating with people, and they're like that number. They were like, "Whoa!"
Silver's at $64. God, holy crap!
I think that
Holy
resonated
crap,
with
dude.
people, and they were like, "Wow, I need to go ahead and save my money in something
Wow.
that's not going to lose value the way that everything else has." The way the
Bro,
dollar
this
has.
is crazy.
63
Silver
bucks.
peaked at 65 on Friday. This is
It's a lot of money for silver.
nuts.
Yeah, I've been like, what technology, what could we do that would really heal things? And I think of plumbing. I'm like, okay, what technology helps everybody? Plumbing helped everybody. We mentioned this on the green room earlier. You were like, that was like the greatest technology of the 20th century, was
toilet.
plumbing. So the roads, that's our like sociological plumbing. We can fix the roads.
We just
particularly
lost 1,000 libertarians when you brought up the roads.
the roads. Well, I'm going to put graphene in the asphalt, so they're going to last 1.5 times longer, and that will then help the economy because less construction means more time for trucks to get their goods to the places they need to get to.
What about the people that won't be working on the roads right now? I mean, if there's always people fixing the roads, there's always economic activity paying the people to fix the roads.
I think some people will lose their job, but the cost benefit will be higher. Like the value of having a more robust transportation system outweighs the loss of those people out there pouring asphalt and stuff.
Well,
see.
yeah, in theory too, when the population retracts, then labor becomes more valuable. Therefore, people's labor demands more in the market. But the big problem in the West is that we've been backfilling the losses in population with immigration. So this is why the Trump administration is going to be a really interesting test for economists, because it'll be the first time where the labor market will properly retract. We won't have as many working age adults introduced into the economy. Therefore, in theory, Americans will have more money in their pockets to spend. It's all going to be one big test, like you were saying. I mean, debt interest payments hit $1 trillion. Our military budget's $1 trillion. So we're already paying our military budget's worth. It's 10% of America's GDP. There's other countries that have a similar interest to GDP ratio: Canada, Italy, unfortunately Argentina, which probably doesn't put us in great standing, but it's true. I mean, we'll see. We'll see as the labor market retracts.
I'm going to tell you how crazy things are. So I just pulled this up on Google. Top 1% salary. It says to be in the top 1% of U.S. earners in 2025, you generally need over $700,000 to nearly $1.1 million annually, depending heavily on the state. With cost areas like Connecticut, Massachusetts, and California requiring the most, around $1 million, the national average is closer to $731,000, but varies. So they say maybe $731,000 to about $794,000. 5 years ago, it was about $500,000. 10 years ago, it was about $375,000.
Mm-hmm.
This is not that people are making more money and succeeding. It is that we are experiencing rapid inflation. I don't want to say hyperinflation because it's a literal term, but inflation is absolutely insane over the past 5 years, that we are now looking at you. In order to be the top 1%, your salary must be doubled. They are not saying the 1% are doing better than ever. They're saying your money is worth nothing. Your buying power is gone.
Right. Well, that's where they're like 7% inflation, and everyone that makes $15 an hour is looking at the McChicken go from $1 to $4 in like 5 years, and they're saying, well, even if it's 7% on the whole, in the places where it matters to me, that's where my wallet's being hit, and people are feeling the pinch. And then you look at numbers like this, where it's skyrocketing. I mean, it's getting rough out there.
I think there have been a lot of predictions that we're going to face a major market crash next year. I don't know if you've heard anything like that, but
It looks mathematically like it's going to happen within the next 2 years.
yeah, and they say that like every 8 to 10 years is a major crash. You can look at the market,
Yeah.
and I don't know how you sustain these housing prices. They're absolutely insane right now, and these salary numbers. You know, it freaks me out when I come to somewhere like Vegas or go to these casinos, and I'm wondering how it is that people can spend the money they spend. We were actually at the MGM a couple weeks ago in Maryland, and I can't remember who I was hanging out with. It might have been Brandon, but I was looking around at all these people. I'm like, how can these people afford to gamble like this? You know, they go to MGM, and they got these table games where it's like 3-card poker, for instance. For those that don't know, it's $50 to play for your ante. They'll give you 3 cards. Then you got to pay $50 again to see the dealer's card, see if you win. Then they got bonus bets, which is they've got the pair bonus and the 6-card bonus, and that's $50 as well. So if you're playing a full hand of this, you're looking at about $250, $250. And I'm like, who is sitting at this table with 10 grand to play consistently this amount of money? How does it make sense? I think it was Brandon who pointed out that there's like 8% of the U.S. population are millionaires.
Yeah.
So
1 in 10 or something like that.
One in 10, and then I realized it's not that they're millionaires. It's that they're just middle class.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be that middle class people had disposable income and would go to casinos and play games and be like, well, you know, now the wealthy are being called wealthy, but their buying power is like these people that we are looking at. They might make like $300K a year. So they're pulling in, you know, 20, maybe like 17, 18 after taxes or whatever every month. And they only need about 10, so they have a couple grand. And then they go to the casino once every few months maybe, and they play a grand or two or something like that because they have disposable income. Now, like we look at these people and we look at them as wealthy. Basically what I'm saying is it is skewing so dramatically from poor to rich. The divide is getting so massive that what was once the middle class now looks to be the wealthy elites.
Yeah. I just saw something today that said that Elon Musk is the first person ever to be worth $600 billion. And it's a big number, but he's worth that much money, not just because he's got valuable companies, but because the dollar has been, you know, losing value for so long.
You know, Andrew Tate has actually a pretty good video on this where he explains wealth. And he said, if you know how much money you have, you're poor. He said, rich people don't know how much money they have. He was like, he goes, for me, I've got $50 million in a stock account. I don't even know what it's worth. And if I can even take it out, it's just there. And I don't know what the number is. So it's like, I don't even know how much money I have. My investments are all over the place. My properties are various values. I don't even know. And he's like, so if you open your bank account and you know how much money you have, you're not rich.
Yeah.
And that's basically what he's describing. So when you mention, you know, Elon Musk and $600 billion, there's a certain level where you stop thinking of money as money. Like I'm saying, like we as people should look at someone like Elon and say, he's not rich. He's just in charge.
Yeah.
He will never be poor. He will never lose his money. Nothing you can do about it so long as he's in the system. And what that really means is not that he is rich. It doesn't mean he can buy something. It means he can do whatever he wants.
Yep.
Yep.
Not only that, with his media reach, people will basically, most people, even those who claim to hate him, I bet if he went to them and said, I have $1 million with your name on it, if you just stop saying that, they'd be like, done.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you say, Elon. That's what it means to have that kind of money.
Well, that's what Trump said famously. He said it's not even about the money; it's about keeping score. So it's like it's true. I mean, you have these like Saudi princes where who knows how much money they have. Like they probably are just like I'm about 3.5 Latvia's worth. Like it's insane the amount of wealth that they have. As far as your point with Zoomers, you know, and casino, I think part of it is just because Zoomers are inherently really risk averse. For a variety of reasons. That's why you see
They aren't risk averse.
They are risk averse.
Zoomers are gambling like crazy, bro.
It's not like traditional gambling though. It's like it's a lot of like sports gambling and these sorts of things. But generally like temperamentally they're very risk averse. Like this is why the marriage rate's very low among other reasons. Is because it's a big lift to jump into something like that. There's benefits. The divorce rate's never been lower, which is an upside.
Haha.
No, it's true. Like literally, the divorce rate has never been lower in the United States because Zoomers are so hesitant to get married that when
Right.
they finally decide to get married, they're like,
There's no
"This is the
divorces.
one. This has to be the one."
Yeah, but dude, Zoomers are gambling like crazy. I don't. Maybe risk averse is the right way to describe it, but they're gambling like crazy.
As far as like in casinos,
They're all trying to be gambling influencers.
yeah, you have a segment, but I think like among the general Zoomer population, they're just you don't see them. And this is again, there's some benefits and there's also downsides. Is they're not their alcohol consumption is down dramatically, nicotine consumption, a variety of factors, which just indicates again it's good and bad. Like there was this bus, I think it was like in Arizona, where the police came and they shut down this party that had like 800 Zoomers there because they were all underage drinking, and everyone made the point like, we're not celebrating underage drinking, but you also arrested the only Zoomers in the state of Arizona that like have any propensity to take on risk.
Or to actually engage in social activities.
That as well. So it's like that's part of the reason Zoomers are so atomized is because of the risk aversion, because it's risky to go out in public. Like you could make a fool of yourself. Who knows? These things happen, but that's like part of life. And for a variety of reasons, I'll use the word. People point out I use this word too much, but it's because Zoomers didn't properly matriculate. It's obvious. I mean, my micro generation, which was like 99 to 04, became adults during COVID. They didn't properly pick up on social cues, conventional ways of socializing, these sorts of things. And as a result, you're just seeing people not really pushing for what they want in life because, again, they're just afraid of what if I fail.
So what does this country turn into then? I think this is a component of the hyperinflation. I think I'm willing to bet a lot of this is we don't have the tax income anymore. So the purpose of the income tax is not to fund services. It's to offset inflation. The U.S. government just prints money, takes on debt, and then taxes you to pay that down and pull money from the system. Basically, it's a circuitous way of saying, yeah, they're taking your money so they can fund programs, but they're buying in deficit. I think this inflation is very obvious. It's following the COVID lockdowns. They just pumped money in the system saying, if people have money, they'll buy stuff. Well, we know what happens with inflation. I think what we're looking at right now is without young people, without that tax base, the government is pumping money into a system that's not putting labor into the system. So we are seeing massive inflation.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it's going to get bad.
It's going to be a very difficult election cycle, and probably for maybe even decades to come. Because I think you're right. At this point, no one coming out of college thinks there's any future for them. I mean, I'm trying to think. I mean, I have a 17-year-old kid. I got one more year with him in the house. I've been really self-focused on my own career and what I'm doing. Now all of a sudden I'm thinking, what am I supposed to tell you to start focusing on? He wants to be a lawyer. Lawyers are gone. AI is going to wipe out, lawyers. It's also going to wipe out doctors. Like all the good jobs are going to disappear. And then, but are you really going to? I mean, honestly, you can talk about it. You can Mike Rowe. I just did his podcast recently. Great guy. But when you're sitting there, am I going to tell my 17-year-old kid to take on like a blue collar job, like go learn how to be a plumber or a carpenter? I mean, are we? It takes. I mean, you can say it, that there's a future there, in some way that's where this country's going, but I'm the first generation that's looking at a kid. Am I going to actually tell him that's what I want you to do? That's what I think you should do? Forget your brain. You're doing great. You got straight A's. It didn't mean anything because that's going to take you nowhere.
We had Gary the Numbers guy on the show, was it like a week or two ago? And a week ago. And, I know a lot of people goofed on him because the numerology stuff they think it's silly, but he was right when he said, AI is coming. You got about 3 years to get your bag, and then you're out. And he's like, the rich are going to live in gated communities where they own and control things, and the poor will never have a means of doing anything. And it's not just about AI; it's about population collapse. You need new low-skill labor coming in, and we don't have it. The Democrat solution was just open the borders. The Republican solution is not talk about it, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you see these moments of it's actually kind of interesting. You'll see throughout history these moments of intense innovation when people can sense that a great filter is sort of coming down. Like a good example is like apartheid South Africa in the 80s. You actually saw a lot of like technological development because people feared that when the regime was turned over, it was changed, that there would be this rift where the middle class would eviscerate and people would either retreat into gated communities or they would be in these slums or have to leave the country. And this happens like throughout history. And I think in the United States, you're seeing this great filter being set up where we're going to be atomized, the upper class and then the lower class. There won't really be a middle class. And that's causing people to, that's why you're seeing so many of these get rich schemes. That's why you're seeing people scamming each other, because I think a lot of people that are paying attention are very keenly aware that the hammer is coming down. Again, if the Trump administration is successful, then we won't have to deal with this. But I don't know. I think people are fully aware of what's coming.
I don't think there's a way. There's no solution to this problem. There is only preparing for what's going to come, and then preparing how we resolve the next 20 years.
Well, I think there are solutions, though. I think there are economic solutions.
Don't say graphene.
What's that?
Don't say graphene.
Material science.
All right, let's start with this. There is a massive.
I mean, if you cut me off, you'll never hear the solution. It's up to
right.
you.
So we're going to start with the premise of the conversation because I'm trying to make sure you don't derail. That's the point.
I'm trying to solve the problem.
So the problem right now is a massive lack of entry-level trainees and labor. What is your proposed solution?
Import them.
So the Democrat solution.
I'm open to that. I'm open to the version of that. Yeah.
Right. So
Import menial labor if you need it.
That was stated.
Have more babies.
Right. That having more babies won't actually solve the problem because it takes 18 years.
Import the labor. If you drastically need human labor, you import the labor. They used to attack countries and conquer them and take them because they're coming here free will.
They took them as slaves,
but
bro.
it's also
That's not the option.
Ian. Let's
really?
Well, let's grant the argument even that like there's no downsides to immigration, like it's literally just free labor
Or slavery.
Sure. Let's grant that. Let's say there's no like societal implications or even other like external economic factors. The birth rate across the developing world is dropping precipitously as well. Like Mali was at like 9 kids like 5 years ago. Now they're at like 5. India's gone sub-replacement. So it's like at a certain point we're gonna have to look to technology to backfill labor because you can't even if again you were to just grant every neoliberal argument about immigration, you're going to run out of people in the next 50 to 100 years to bring in anyway, just speaking like math wise.
There's a what was the documentary called we talked about on the show? It's called like The Birth Gap or something like that. There is no civilization in the history of this planet that has recovered from a birth rate at this level.
Yeah.
The reason is once it goes underneath replacement, you cannot produce enough to get out of that hole. So the civilization collapses, and then people scatter, and then slowly make a different a different society or different civilization out of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe we all plug our brains in and eat the bugs and live in the pods.
Well, I'm not as black-pilled as some other people are about robotics and about basically AI and stuff like that. I do think that there's going to be a lot of jobs that essentially robots are going to do, and I'm talking about humanoid robots because we live in a humanoid-shaped world, right? Like a man-shaped world. It's the world that we've designed. So the idea that, right now your car can drive you places. They're doing the Tesla taxis and they're doing the Waymos and stuff. And of course they're imperfect, but that technology is going to improve. But when you have the ability to have a robot that costs you $30,000, $25,000, $30,000 or whatever, that can be trained to do something that a human can do now, you're going to see a lot of companies that are going to say, I can buy this robot for $30,000, even if it's $50,000, right? You're buying that robot for $50,000. That's less than you're going to have to pay a human being to do it for a year, right? So you make your money back in 1 year. You're not going to have to pay health insurance for the robot. Obviously, there might be repairs and stuff like that, but you can have robots do a lot of the jobs. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, you're just asking for Skynet and et cetera. I don't think that that's the future that we're in for, but I do think that robotics will be able to do a lot of the things that humans do now. And this is basically like, whether you like him or not, this is basically the argument that Musk makes. He's like, look, in the future, there's going to be some displacement and there's going to be growing pains to get to this point. But in the future, you're going to have robots doing things that human beings do now, and there's going to be a lot more free time for humans. And I understand that there's the possibility of a crisis of meaning. What are people going to do? Because a lot of people
who's going to keep them alive? Like this argument blows my mind. Like
do
we're all
think
going to sit around in lawn chairs, smoking weed and video games, and then the elite 1% are going to get together once in a while and say, I want to vote a raise to all the people that aren't working, because I've seen that happen throughout society, for centuries. There's no way. It's going to be a planet of useless eaters, and that's how they're going to be seen.
I don't imagine
and
that
AI will be a part of the conversation of how quickly can we get rid of them, because they're just draining on the system.
Like I don't imagine. Well, first of all, I don't think that I don't think that the Earth can't support the number of people that we have. And if we're talking about a birth crisis, right? We're not having enough kids, and that's global. Then the problem of supporting human beings isn't actually a problem of tapping the resources, or stressing the resources that the Earth has. There will actually be fewer human beings because we have had fewer children. And again, I'm not saying that it's going to be without its growing pains or whatever, but I do think that a lot of the problems that we're seeing now, or that we're concerned with, can be filled by robots.
Well, yeah, the whole birth rate conversation has to be reframed because it's mostly focused around economics, and like I do agree that to a certain extent, like people aren't having kids because of housing prices, etc. But there's countries like Hungary, Japan, South Korea who have incentivized people to have children with economic incentives. Like Hungary, they'll buy you a minivan, they'll give you tax breaks, these sorts of things, and it hasn't really moved the needle on the birth rate in any meaningful way. So you really have to address. You have to address a crisis of meaning. That's not to say that economics don't have an impact. Like one of my favorite stats is that South Korea has a birth rate, I think like 1.2 around there. And in Seoul, it's like 0.6. I mean, it's devastating. And North Korea has a birth rate of 3.2. So it's like, wow. You also can't evaluate economic economics like entirely because if you were to contrast and compare those two systems just from like the position of birth rates, you would conclude that the North Korean system is a better system. It's obviously not true, but at the same time, like you do have to sort of address the deeper problems that cause the birth rates to go negative. Like the most common stat, obviously, is that when women are educated at a certain level, the birth rate drops precipitously because they are able to enter the workforce. They are able to provide an income for themselves. So they lose the need for a male to be like a provider.
Yeah, but I think you even got to look at teen pregnancy. I mean, sexuality's down, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
we have an asexual society. We're on the verge. I mean, you talk to pediatricians, there's kids that are coming in that aren't choosing any side. They're just completely asexual. So, I mean, this thing it's chemical, it's physical. It's like it's not just housing prices and things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, our kids aren't even deciding to drive a car. I mean, I can't believe it. I have friends who's, teenagers like 18 still don't have a driver's license. Everyone in my generation, as soon as you could drive, you were the hell out of
right
there,
away,
like
right
never
away.
to be seen again.
Yeah.
And instead, they're living at home. They're not going anywhere. They're watching. I guess they're playing video games and stuck on X and YouTube and
This
not
is,
living a life like they're not alive.
I looked up the top 1% over the past 15 years. In 2010, $221,000 a year or higher put you in the top 1%.
That's hard for me to believe.
That's kind of crazy.
1%.
But by 2012, it was 434. These are the
By 2012.
By 2012.
Is that
So
global?
this is coming off
US.
of the 221,000 is probably because of the financial crisis.
Yeah.
Everybody lost their jobs, salaries plummeted, but it remained somewhat stable, about 500,000 for several years. 2021 after COVID, it went to 682. 2022 dropped down to 561. 2023 went to 794, dropped down to 616. 2025 was 731. But I asked Google AI why, Gemini, and it also mentions executive pay. And I think this is another big component of why we are seeing salaries go up. It's not just that there is inflation. Look at gold price and silver. That's true. I think we're looking at a lack of capability. So you mentioned these young people are sitting around playing video games, not doing anything. Yep. They're not getting skills and they're not figuring out how to make money or do anything meaningful.
And there's no job to even learn how to pour a Starbucks because grandma's in there because her retirement's not coming through for whatever reason. Everywhere you go, all the jobs that used to be the job I got at McDonald's at 15 years old or 16 when you could finally get your first job, it's all like elderly people that are taking those jobs because they're great workers. They know how to do it. They're going to show up. They're not difficult to work with. And so you got no entry point for these. I mean, I know I sound like a dad, totally a dad right now. Like I'm stressed. I got a teenager. I'm like, what the hell are you going to do? This world is totally jacked.
Well, and to Del, your point earlier is it's so salient because you were talking about how the entire like conversation and the way we understand sexuality in the West has been completely inverted. Like it's a bit of a joke, but it's true. Is like horny men do build civilization. Like they do these things because of women. They want to provide for women. They want to attract women. These sorts of things. But the way that like sexuality is presented to young American men is like the most degenerate aspects of sexuality are celebrated and promoted, like pornography, stripping, like OnlyFans, these sort of things. And
low T, huh?
Well, but then the most valuable aspects of sexuality are punished, like women that want to stay at home and work, or men that have a healthy attraction to women. These sorts of things are punished, and so it's like when you completely invert our understanding of sexuality, completely invert the incentive structures, men are going to become demoralized. Men won't want to work hard because like I said earlier, horny men build the West. If you're not actually seeking to build a place for a family and to provide for your family, then what's the point of working? What's the point of working really hard and then coming home to an empty apartment?
But they do also destroy the world because the internet was made by horny men.
That's true.
So early internet was not, and then one day some guy was like, "Hey, I know how our computers can like do email and stuff, but I want to see a picture of a naked woman." And they were like, "We got to make faster internet.
Put boobs on it.
So they were like, how can we increase the speed of internet so that we can show boobs?
Yeah.
And they figured it out. And now we're all being cooked because our culture is breaking down and people are just on the internet.
You just got to talk
frying
about
their
your
brains.
penis more, man. You're a man. Be vocal about it. You got to be comfortable with sex. We need to make sexuality normalized to talk about. And I'm not talking about grotesque, X-rated conversations. We're just talking about your sexy body, your ripped abs. Phil knows what I'm talking about. He's laughing at this. Your giant member, all that stuff, man. Make her pregnant. Get that woman fertilized. Have your baby.
But women don't want to be with guys, and guys have low testosterone because they don't chop lumber anymore.
Got to run that infrared light on your nutsack, apparently. According to John Otto last week, it increases
sunning your balls.
testosterone.
That's right.
True.
Sunlight.
Also, chopping wood apparently is like boosts your testosterone more than any other.
Hanging from a tree branch, too, particularly tree branches.
Guys,
Something
Hanging
about
from a
that.
tree
Guys,
branch.
deadlifts.
I don't know. I like the idea of chopping wood.
Yeah, wood.
Or strange Chinese peptides. If you just want to skip all the hard work, you could just do that.
Doesn't that mess you up though?
Oh, especially the strange Chinese ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a big problem.
Is that what's
Some
going
kind
on?
of
People
random
are
animals.
these Gen Z guys. What's going on? Like the internet is making everybody go insane, right? Like that claviclus guy, or whatever his name is.
Clavicle, yeah.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of attention now because he's nuts.
Crystal meth for hollow cheeks. It's a
Yeah,
method. It's,
that's what he said, right?
not medically vetted.
Bro, y'all need church.
No, that's a very salient point. We do need church because it provides structure for our lives. Otherwise, we're just in the wind.
Community. We need community, man. I was a theater kid. That's where I got my love for people. I age 14 to 20.
Yeah.
It was every day, 10 hours, well, not every day, but 3 hours a day. Let's get together. Let's do this.
Yeah,
It wasn't about you. It was about the group.
And that's part of the reason like relationships, marriage formation is breaking down is because young people don't have the touch points to interact with the opposite sex. It just never occurs. And so for men, again, when it's like when there's no available partners, like I've said it before, where the hose at is a very salient question in today's society. Like men are just going to hang it up. They're just going to say, well, it's easier to just like take the buyout and like smoke weed and play video games all day because it's like, what else? What's on offer? Like college really is. This is why college actually is valued so much in American society. Is it's not even really valued for the education anymore. Obviously, it's valued because it's the last instance in a young person's life where they're going to be surrounded by young people entirely. Because after that, you go into the workplace, you're probably going to be the youngest person in the workplace. By my first corporate job, I was like, the second youngest person was like 15 years older than me. So it's like, that's part of the reason college is so worshipped as a part of American civic life is because for young people, it's their last time being around other young people. And you ask boomers, like when they first entered the workplace, they were surrounded by young people and they're probably equally as ambitious, the same interests, these sorts of things. And that's just not occurring for young people anymore.
It is. It's really funny about Vegas is that when you drive down, there was a Sammy Hagar ad I saw, and I was like, wow,
He's a
and
Sammy
David Copperfield.
I know. It's
Wow.
And the
He's been down
picture's
here for
still
what,
the one he
50?
had 40 years ago. I
Yeah.
was like,
Right.
what does this guy look like? I want to go see it just to see what the hell does he look like.
Look, Sammy sounds great
Guy's
for a
got to be
guy
like 75
74
or something,
yeah.
right?
But
Yeah.
the point is, why isn't Vegas like? It's not a real question, rhetorical, but the question would be, why is Vegas not having younger musicians and celebrities and stars? Because there aren't any. Because there aren't young people.
Or Bo Burnham is like, why would I go to Vegas? I can just perform
I don't
here.
think young people
Not-
have. I think
not-
back
not
to the
at
point,
all.
young people have the money to come see it. Like the only
Yep.
the people that have money is the boomers that are the last.
Yep.
I mean, this whole town is designed to entertain those that still have.
Vegas
You
will
know-
cease to exist in 15, 20
You
I think
will
you're right about that.
You will see young people like turn out in huge numbers for artists like Taylor Swift, for artists like Sabrina Carpenter. So like that,
Incorrect on Sabrina Carpenter.
I'm not even sure, but are
She
they
was
paying
doing
for those
arenas,
tickets their
bro.
own money?
well, yeah, I'm just saying like you will see moments where like young people will like gravitate towards an artist, but they're just not this like magnanimous cultural touchstone where everyone's on the same page. Like most of these artists that like my entire Spotify rap is going to be completely different from someone my age with the exact same background versus just if they existed in the 80s, your Spotify rap is probably going to be the same. Like 80% of Americans will probably have the same lineup.
Yeah, but these Vegas shows aren't stadiums.
Yeah, so it's like it's impossible to generate an artist large enough to even like Taylor Swift's the last one, and even then she still kind of comes from that monoculture era.
But Sabrina Carpenter was selling out arenas, like
Right.
10K tickets, right?
yeah,
And Metallica does stadiums with like 90,000
Yeah.
seats. And so Vegas,
But those
they-
tickets were like $25. They're like $600 now, right? So
Oh,
again, it's
yeah.
all so
But they're all
elitist.
Well, yeah, but
like we're
Metallica-
killing it all the way around
Metallica
too,
still
right?
does arenas that are like 90,000. They just played.
Yeah.
They played SoFi a couple years ago, and,
Yeah.
and I was there, and it was.
I'm saying that Sabrina Carpenter could play in Vegas, but she's not.
yeah.
Because to your point, young people they don't come here. And I think the reality is there aren't young people.
Young people don't really go anywhere. There's not really like a town in America that's like the young people pilgrimage spot. Maybe Nashville, and that's pushing it. It doesn't really exist outside of that. New York City to some degree, but now New York City.
So what you're
you can't
saying
live there.
is the business opportunity right now is to create a physical place that young people want to be at.
Good idea.
I mean, in
Yep.
theory, yeah, but it's like I imagine we have the brightest strategic marketing minds trying to crack that question
No way.
right now.
No, because we talked about this a while ago. if you are if you own a venue, let's say you got 90,000 seats, and someone comes to you and says, I'm a promoter, I work with these big labels, we got a bunch of artists, we want to do this tour. We've got Metallica, Beyonce, and Sammy Hagar, I don't know, whatever. He's probably gonna sell an arena, but so we got Metallica, we got Beyonce, we got Taylor Swift. They go, okay, that sounds fantastic. Taylor Swift is now what? She's like 37. And so they go, oh, that's great. We'll sell those seats. Gen Z, this company's not going to pitch Gen Z to the stadium because they're going to go, no one's going to buy those tickets.
Yeah.
So the issue is there's a tremendous market opportunity to target Gen Z. But if you are a mainstream promoter looking to book out big shows, you're not bothering with it.
Yeah.
So right now for the entry level, if you're a Gen Z person, your opportunity is to start doing shows and make a space or venues that Gen Z want to be at, because you're getting neglected. Because people are like, look, boomers are living to 500 years old now. We're going to sell tickets to them. They've got 3 houses. They own all the corporate equities.
Yeah.
They can afford it. Why bother shifting our business model to Gen Z?
Yep.
And it's being run by boomers themselves. Gen Z needs to actually start building and cultivating these spaces, and that's where you're going to make your money.
Well,
You're going to make not as much money as you like. Boomers have all the cash right now, but in 10 years, whoever builds the Gen Z space will have all the cash.
The problem with Gen Z is you can only appeal to half of it. So it's an increasingly small population. And then within that, it's completely stratified by gender, like by sex, rather. Like if you look at like a Michael Jackson concert, it's going to be fairly mixed. It's going to be men and women. But with Gen Z, there's not really any artists that have crossover with both sexes and mass scale. Like with Taylor Swift, or Sabrina Carpenter, it's 95% women and Connor Tomlinson, as he demonstrated on Twitter. So it's like you're appealing to half of the population at best, and it's already a infinitesimally compared to
Yeah, I
boomers.
blame the internet. It's bifurcating.
Yeah,
It's not just bifurcating. It's Trachagillion bricating.
Right.
It's stratifying. It is granularizing everything into its most basest, unique little snowflake form, where no one will agree on anything. Everyone's going to live in an AI bubble, and they're going to be like, my music is so indie, I made it myself, and you'll never hear it.
yeah.
That's where we're going.
But that is what the geniuses are all focused on. That is the
yeah.
total globalist system. It's not designed to put them in stadiums. They don't want them out and about. They want them in a 15-minute city, a 5-minute city. Then they want to just dip them into. I mean, I keep thinking the Matrix. I keep looking at life as how close am I to the tub of jelly they're going to lower me into, where I'm vicariously living a life.
To be honest, we're like a week away from Joe Rogan advocating the tub of jelly rejuvenation center. You know what I mean? Like,
But I
yeah,
mean,
try
that-
this thing; it's good for your bones, man.
Even
Stem cells.
like growing up in Boulder, like I grew up with we're environmentalists. I still am. I still want like clean water. I want to go fishing with my kid. I want conservation. I want things like that. I don't want an authoritarian government. I don't want carbon credit scores. But all of this, like in the Democrats, the party that used to carry and toe that line, don't realize they're about to make national parks illegal. They're already starting up in Canada. I mean, this hatred of ourselves and human beings and separating ourselves from nature and hide us in housing is getting so severe that it is only going to be elitists that are going to go to Yellowstone and be like, you're not allowed in here because human beings are bad for nature. So this idea, they're totally taking us, and our kids, they don't want them in a stadium. They don't want them out and about. They don't want them in a town. They want them in their houses, in front of their computers, and don't ever leave.
Yeah.
I mean, that is what they're being designed to do. And then, if they figure out how to make money doing that, great. If they don't,
Well, it's like, it goes back to my earlier point where when you're seeing these metrics like alcohol use, and I'm a Christian, like I don't encourage these things for lifestyle, but this isn't a result of like a Christian prudishness. This is a result of really just fear and improper matriculation. I use the word again, but it's true. And it's like, there's something fundamentally broken here. Fundamentally, I think to your point, there's an attempt to basically rob them of their identity, every identity that God gave them, and turn them into a consumer fundamentally. Like, I want your identity to be in what TV shows you consume or what, NFL team you support. Being American, Christian, etc., like that's not important. That you can get rid of that, cut that loose. Even your sex, like you could change that. But are you a Captain America fan? Okay, well you should be wearing your Captain America t-shirt everywhere you go, because that's fundamentally what they want to reduce it down is purchasable identities.
Yeah, I think your identity, it's not, there's an attempt to make people believe that your identity is what you think you are. That's who
Yes,
you are. But
yeah.
the reality is your identity is what you've done.
Well, I think a lot of your identity is intrinsic, and they're trying to rob that because it debases you and it deracinates you, and there's market incentive for that, and also the self-hatred. Like, they hate people that are secure in their identity and strong and these sorts of things. And it's actually really effective to just destabilize them because, I mean, not to get conspiratorial, but if you're trying to ensure your control over a system, your regime's control over the system, the last thing you want is renegades. And someone that's really secure in their identity is inherently going to be a renegade because they're going to look at everything around them that's slop and be like, I don't fit with this. This isn't cohesive for me, so I'm going to upend it.
Figured it out. Tate, you're using big words.
My bad.
You got to shrink those words down. The average person has no idea what's going on when we use these.
Who knows
What
what
does
deracinate means?
What does matriculate? We use matriculate twice. What does matriculate?
It means like as you become, like, for example, a kid matriculates into an adult. It's like it's becoming, it's absorbing into the new way of life, the system, that sort of thing.
And is it because because people are like consumed on the internet? Is it the internet? I can't just wholly blame the internet.
No,
I mean,
I can't wholly blame the internet either. I think it's just the conventional institution.
Matriculate means to be formally enrolled in university.
Well, that as well, yeah. So it's like, I think it's also because of these institutions that would facilitate that have broken down. So
A stupid word.
For young people, I mean,
I like the fenestrate.
What about
You guys know
school
the
sports?
fenestrate?
What percentage of kids play school sports? Has that changed at all? Because it seems like they're all just on video games.
yes,
they're
it's
not
like-
out there doing it. Are they?
Anecdotally, I've noticed everywhere I move that batting cages are closing down.
Yeah.
Which is really tragic because that's going to cause problems because that's how you develop throwing mechanics. So we're going to see a bunch of limp-wristed men ultimately that can't throw a baseball. That's going to be it's going to be a big problem. So you're seeing that, and yeah, every indicator for youth sports it's grim. It's increasingly small, and the youth sports that do exist are becoming more and more expensive.
Yeah.
Like when I played high school basketball, it wasn't High School Musical type of basketball. It was like AAU travel basketball. It's very expensive for the parents.
Yeah.
It's high intensity. Kids are like, I'm either going to play college basketball or bust. When typically, like for young people that want to play high school basketball, like, I don't know, it's fun. I get to play with my friends. I like playing basketball. Probably won't go to play college ball. I mean, it'd be cool. But now it's like it's all or nothing, and I think that's putting off a lot of young kids from sports as well.
We need, re-education centers. We need to physically and forcefully take children and make them play baseball.
So
And when I
true.
say re-education centers, I mean like we take them from their parents to put them into schools where they learn about baseball.
Yes.
And you gotta learn
like
about
they do that
The military will invest in this because the way the grenade was designed as the same shape as a baseball because kids understand how to throw a baseball, and Americans have some of the best throwing mechanics in the world. And I do think the military would have an incentive in these baseball education camps.
You go to the
because
house
these
and
kids
they-
can't throw grenades anymore.
Cuba would like a
mandatory
word.
baseball camp for
Yeah, I
kids.
mean, like the latest stats on health, they say health, like 75% of kids, this was Bobby Kennedy's line, can't qualify to join the military on health reasons. I wonder if it's straight health, though. It may just be they can't throw a ball or run or do a damn thing. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean,
is it
there's-
really that they have diabetes? I don't know. I'm
mean-
questioning. I want to dig deeper into that data because how many kids are actually actively able to run up a mountain or,
I mean, this isn't data driven, but the idea that you would send your kids out into the world during the day, that's gone.
Gone.
You'll get DSS or something at your house with your kid being like, "Why is your kid out?" When and I'm gonna sound totally like a boomer now, but when I was a kid, it was go outside and play and don't come back until the streetlights come on.
Yeah.
And granted, I live in the suburbs or lived in the suburbs. But like that was a way for me to go out and be physically active. As soon as I could ride a bike, I was riding my bike all around the neighborhood, and I was out in the woods playing. And
take chances, make mistakes,
Yeah.
get jacked up, how to figure out how to lie your way out of a problem you created. All the things are going to be useful further out in life.
But nowadays kids are actually actively discouraged from doing that, and and parents are discouraged from allowing their children to do that. So even if the parents are like, "Oh, I would like my kids to be more independent than the typical kid," you're risking some kind of interference from the government or from the local authorities because your kid was out doing something. Yeah.
We're going to go to your Rumble rants and Super Chats, so smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know, and join us at timcast.com. Get in the Discord server to support the work we do. There's the community there. They're doing great work. They got morning shows. They got the pre-show. We do this with the Timcast co-hosts with Slick and Olivia. So they're producing all this really great content, and you as members of the Discord help make all of this possible, and you get to call into the show during the uncensored portion. So again, that's go to timcast.com, click join us. We do have a great sponsor for you, though, my friends. It is Kickoff. Check out their website at getkickoff.com/Timcast. That's KIKOFF. Holiday spending piles up fast, gifts, travels, parties, and it's easy for your credit to fall behind. That's why you should check out Kickoff, the #1 credit building app. Kickoff makes it simple. Sign up in just minutes, no credit check, and begin seeing progress fast. Users with credit under 600 grow an average of 84 points in their first year with on-time payments. And with AutoPay, you can ensure you never miss one. Plans start at just $5 a month and no hidden fees. And even rent reporting can help build credit. It's easy, affordable, and truly effective. Help your credit survive the holidays with Kickoff for a limited time. Get your first month free. Go to getkickoff.com/Timcast today. That's kickoff without the C. Get KIKOFF.com/Timcast. You must sign up via getkickoff.com/Timcast to activate the offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month only, subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first year credit score impact of plus 84 points between January 2023 and January 2024 for Kickoff credit account users who started with a score below 600, who paid on time, and who had no delinquencies or collections added to their credit profile during this period. Late payments may negatively impact your credit score. Individual results may vary. Thanks for sponsoring the show, guys. Shout out. Let's grab your chats. We got KO 7776. Either these cameras add 10 pounds, or the Timcast ones subtract 10 pounds, or it could be the USA government working with the French, Foreign Legion, Egyptians to manipulate the stream.
Correct.
These are the exact same cameras, right? Different lenses for different focal lengths.
They got us. We all pre-gamed at the Heart Attack Grill. They're on our case. I don't know how they figured that out.
I identify as tax exempt says Trump will talk ish about a dead guy he had beef with, but is oh so nice to borderline treasonous chicken-ish Republicans in Congress. You know, Mallow Baby says, Tim, I'm sorry I gave you a hard time. Just wanted you to stop being a shill. I liked you better when you had fun and talked about your chickens. I don't know what that was a reference to. Did you make a different post?
You talk about the chickens still all the time.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And how we will beat you if you don't buy chickens.
Tim steers every conversation behind the scenes back to his chickens. He loves his chickens very dearly. I can confirm.
That's right. Astro Fox G says, welcome to my city, Tim and crew. Any plans for West Coast members to get a meet and hang while you're all here? Unfortunately, we miss out on a ton of live events. You can go to the World Poker Tour where I'm milling about and filming, and maybe I'll see you there. It's hard to do because, security stuff, but yeah, it is what it is. There's a lot of people all over the place. Grip Lip Production says, if it was a different Democrat, what Trump did would be unacceptable. Rob wanted Trump dead and said horrific stuff about his family. Trump was way more reserved than I would have been. Well, I get it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Demos says, Phil, to your point, the left's boos mean nothing. We've seen what makes them cheer.
Yes, clearly.
Indeed. JM says, per tradition, we are watching from the delivery room, welcoming our 4th kid.
Bravo.
Let's go.
Bravo.
Well, I commend you. You're going to need 4 more.
That's right.
We need people.
Babies.
You got to have more
As
people.
many we need a battery farm patriots. Keep going.
NNY says, related to nothing being discussed, but the lighting tonight is awesome. Maybe Ian can investigate. He's good at rabbit holes. Shout out to the Poker Go Studios, because the first thing I noticed is I was like, these lights are absolutely incredible. How do we get them?
Yeah.
It's been
And
saying
I guess-
the whole time, so they're on it. They got
We
it.
even have like purple lights up here, kind of giving some nice bounce.
When you have a lot more money than we do.
And more probably lighting technicians have been doing it for 30 years. Lighting technicians. So you get
Apparently, I
somebody
guess
who-
like each individual light is $5,000 or something.
I
Serge
guess
is nodding.
Serge, your lighting was never your you're more audio is like your main gig. We never I don't think we've ever looked into hiring like a
We did.
lighting guy.
We did.
Like a guy
we
that's
did.
just
We
pure
dramatically
lighting.
improved the lighting from the. I guess technically the 3rd studio.
I used
Wow,
to do
we have a lot of
lighting
studios.
in college in the theater. I'm not like
The
putting my resume out
the
there or
first
anything, I'm
studio we
saying.
just had these lights we bought off Amazon. The second studio was also just lights we bought off Amazon. We moved them. That was went to the castle. Studio number 3 had LED strips surrounding the whole room, so the light was perfectly even. The problem was the temperature, so everyone looked really pale, like they were zombies. And then the next room upgrade is where we are now, which that would be what studio number 4. And we have actual studio lights facing everybody as well as LEDs to balance
Well, this
it
is
out.
cool. You got backlights hitting your backs,
Yep.
so you doesn't look like it looks kind of makes you pop out. That's really nice.
Pop. Indeed. Pop. All right, let's see. Kyle West says, you want viewership back? ? No, actually, we're way up. This is rather fantastic. In the same time after the election, when in 2020, we were averaging around 27,000 concurrents per night. We average around 40 in the offseason now. So show's actually bigger. I fully recognize after every presidential election, a political show sees a decline in viewership. I am not crying about it, nor am I going to make things up to try and get viewers. But he goes on to say, acknowledge you ignored Israeli influence.
Oh, my God.
You needed a White House correspondent. Then highlight that China and Israel are working to balkanize the U.S. What I will say is, Israel, like many other countries, exerts influence in the United States. They have a lot of influence among a lot of populations, largely as they pander to American Jewish individuals, like in New York, with a large Jewish population. And all the mayors said, I'd go to Israel, which is just cringe. And then Mamdani had the only right answer, and I don't even like the guy. And he said, I'd stay here and just help the people of my city, which helped him out a lot. But man, there's a special kind of retardation that thinks Israel runs the world. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's just that I'm not gonna play games. I'm not gonna pander to you people. Okay? Yes, you people, the people who think Israel's hiding around every corner. Benjamin Netanyahu plays stupid games, and it's patently obvious when he's doing these things. And then I get these people and be like, Tim, why would you go meet with Benjamin Netanyahu? You're paid by Israel. Because you know what, I was gonna tweet this out, but you know what, I should get around to it. I said, ladies and gentlemen, I have something to say. Not too long ago, I was invited to the White House to meet with a controversial political figure, and this angered a lot of people. They accused me now of being paid by these people, of having my opinions influenced by them, of corrupting my show, and of sacrificing everything that made this show unique. But I will tell you this. I will never turn down a meeting with any world leader just because they're controversial, and I will say this of that meeting, if invited again, I absolutely would meet with Trump twice.
Real.
What was that? My mic went out? Yep. Oh, it died.
I'd say it's likely that Tim would meet with Kim Jong-il if he got the chance.
Kim Jong.
You want this one?
If you didn't hear the last thing what Tim was saying, he was like, "Yeah, I was serving Israel the whole time, and it felt great. I'm still serving them right now." Oh, did my mic go out? Oh, my bad.
Is this one still working? The point is, I go and I meet with Trump, and all these leftists are like, "You meet with Trump? I can't follow you anymore." And then I get an email, and they're like, Benjamin Netanyahu is coming to the White House. Would you like to attend? And I said, yes, I would, because I'll meet with any world leader. And that's the thing, it's because people, there are people, and they're just saying things like, Tim, you're saying I can't follow you anymore because you won't acknowledge Israel. This happens every time. I told the story before. I'll tell it again. I'm at Occupy Wall Street, and all these people at Occupy Wall Street love me until they started vandalizing police cars and attacking people. And then, as I filmed that, the same as everything else, I said, why are you filming me? Because I've been filming everything the whole time. Then all of a sudden, they're like, okay, we don't like him anymore. And here we go. The Israel people were content until they started demanding everybody just talk about Israel and nothing else. But you know what? I'm going to tell you something. I'm not retarded, okay? So because of that, I don't care. And then I get these messages from backstabbers, betrayers, and mutineers being like, why won't you wake up to the truth about what's going on in this country? Donald Trump works for Israel. Pretty sure when Donald Trump goes to the Saudis and tries to offer them up every deal in the world to re-up the petrodollar contract, that's not Israel. It's Saudi Arabia. But you know what? To the people who live in crackpot reality, and every time they turn a corner, there's an Israeli standing around, what are you going to do? You can't convince them of anything. All right. Pinochet says Animal Farm was made by the CIA in 1954 under Operation Touchstone. CIA first went to Walt Disney, but he did not trust Hollywood commie animators, so it was made in the UK.
Interesting thing. I don't know if it's true, but that's interesting.
Yeah, I've never heard that. B. Stevens says everyone acting like Angel Studios Animal Farm is betraying their Christian values is incorrect. Angel Studios was never Christian. They are Mormon. Mormons don't believe in Jesus. Don't believe Jesus is God. This is communism, though. I'm not even talking about Jesus. We're talking about communism. Mythos says, Tim, Zoomers don't want to even get driver's licenses because they are so risk averse. They are so full of anxiety. I'm betting a massive increase of heart disease in 10 years among them. You know what, man? Man, Gen Z sucks. What?
My nephews are 17 and 21 now, and the 21-year-old just in the past couple of years got his license, and the 17-year-old has no interest in actually getting his license and stuff,
Well, the nice thing about being a Zoomer is because so many in my generation are so risk averse that if you have any degree of like risk tolerance, you're going to inherit the world. Like it's totally like an open playing field. This is why you're seeing like some Zoomers just become immensely successful very quickly. It's just because they're willing to take on an exorbitant amount of risk. It's an open playing field. Now, if it takes out the world with us, then I suppose the success won't really matter in the long run.
Oh boy, we gotta go. I like this one. Velasco says, if you Thanos snapped the boomers and all that money went into the economy, how would affordability and debt be looking? This is really interesting. Probably what would happen is a ton of properties would become vacant overnight and then fall into disrepair within a few weeks. Houses can't be empty. They fall apart. So anybody who owns property knows this, and you need to have a management company checking in on it. You need to have tenants. It's real simple. At the castle, we had a what was it, like I don't think it was a pipe burst. I think it was something related to the air conditioning. And condensation formed, and it started dripping in the same spot into the drywall, rotting it and destroying it.
Yeah.
And we noticed right away. Were we not there because it was an investment property we weren't at, that would have just destroyed everything, like very, very quickly. There was I'll put it like this. Anybody who's owned a home knows this. Spill maybe like a couple buckets of water on the floor and don't clean it up, and then figure out how much thousands of dollars in damage you're going to have in repairs and in the floor and the wood and everything. It's insane. So let's do this. If all the boomers were gone overnight, no one would be able to track whose houses were what or where. There would be some people who start businesses to do deed searches to figure out which houses are now vacant and available for sale. Property values would collapse because there'd be a massive supply of houses all of a sudden just onto the market. They would have no value, but people would own homes. They'd go and they'd move into them. I think ultimately it would be very bad for the economy because the people who still own homes would see their net worths get wiped out overnight. And it's going to happen. Boomers are at the mortality shelf. I am not saying this to mock boomers or to insult them, but boomers now are at mortality. So that's around 79 years old. And then I think Trump is like the oldest of the boomers.
Yeah.
This means the next 10 years, they expect a massive, massive death rate. Mm-hmm. This is what the mortality shelf or the mortality cliff is. When a generation reaches the average age of mortality, the amount of death skyrockets.
Yep.
Because they're all reaching the mortality rate or the age of mortality. So we're going to start seeing all the corporate equities get released. Boomers do have kids, but these kids don't want to live in these hometowns. So we've already seen this happen quite a bit where there's a property, like old people own a property, they die, the kids inherit it. Then the three kids are fighting over who gets what and how they're going to deal with it. They argue. No one can agree. So they say just sell it and sell it quick. Then a house that would have been worth $500K sells for $300K, and the prices start coming down, and they don't want to go live in it. So it's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely bonkers.
I want to start building new houses with this
Yourself?
materials revolution, like lightweight housing. It's gonna be awesome.
They're already building lots and lots of houses, and the question is who's going to live in them? They're building tons of houses by us, and we don't know why.
Yeah.
We're like, who's going to live in these houses? They've got big shipping centers by us. They got an Amazon shipping center and 2 vacant shipping centers. And so we're sitting here being like, who do you think is going to come and work in these places? Who is going to live in these houses? Why do you need shipping in this area?
Yeah. Well,
They are planning something.
Yeah. Well, also one interesting dynamic is that since the marriage rate has broken down, the housing demand hasn't actually responded to that because people are single, but they're still living in entire homes that were meant for single families in the past. So even as like the population retracts because people are not married, they're splitting up and they're just like a man and a woman that would be together sharing a home and can now buy 2 homes.
Yeah, they have more money. They're not spending it on kids.
Yeah.
I mean, the salaries actually go straight to gambling and buying houses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man,
Yeah. Like
those
Tim
are
said.
doing okay.
Yeah. I mean, like Tim said, life expectancy in the U.S. is 79. 1946 is the first year of the boomers. That was the year Trump was born. So mortality cliff is here.
TPZ says fake mourning Rob Reiner dying to appease the left will not keep the left from trying to harm you and collapse your country. Okay, sure. But I guess the point is Trump shouldn't say nice things about him because that would be fake mourning. But I genuinely do mourn Rob Reiner because Princess Bride is one of the greatest movies of all time. And I kid you not, I can recite the whole thing from memory. Everybody knows it's a great movie, and it's remarkable. Its box office was like 30 million or something, like insanely low.
Yeah, I heard that.
Misery, come on,
Kathy
a few
Bates.
good men. Yeah, Rob Reiner had a ton of classic American cultural films. It is a shame he had TDS, but we want those things. Princess Bride, we want that movie. We want our culture to be doing things like that.
He was just working on Spinal Tap 2. This is Spinal Tap 2? I think.
Yeah, it was no good.
Oh, it's already out. Okay.
But this is Spinal Tap was legendary.
Yeah.
Legendary. I was
We,
gonna
we,
say.
we all still say turning it up to 11. It's like
Yeah.
a meme.
It's in your Tesla.
We live in
When you turn
11.
up, when you turn up the volume on your
It goes to
Tesla,
11.
goes to 11.
It goes to 11. Yo, man, come on.
Yeah, we
I
can.
mourn his TDS, you know.
It sucks that he was so politically left, but at the same time, like, look, the guy did some stuff that has helped shape what American culture is, and so you can say, all right, well, I didn't agree with him, and I didn't like some of the things that he said. But
Do
it
you
sucks
think
that
he
died.
was into decolonization?
I think that he. No, I don't. I think that
It's a legit question.
No,
you know?
I don't think that he was particularly well versed in leftist ideology. I think that he had TDS. I think he found Donald Trump particularly distasteful. Probably didn't like Trump before Trump was elected. Probably didn't like him when he was on The Apprentice. Probably thought he was boorish and stuff. And then when Trump was elected, he was probably, oh, this guy's the worst. You know?
I want to hit it.
I would propose that like being against Donald Trump fundamentally is a form of this sort of anti-colonial sentiment, not directly, but because Trump was a reaction to Obama specifically, and Obama like cited Nelson Mandela as one of his greatest inspirations, and Nelson Mandela is kind of the forerunner of this kind of anti-colonial decolonization sort of way of thinking. And so being against Trump, maybe not directly, but I will say like that opposition come to its conclusion would be in support of these sort of decolonial ideas.
All right, TT says, watching the Republican House majority pass a $906 billion package for Ukraine makes me not fear communism anymore. Whatever corrupt system we currently live in won't be worse for a slave like me in either system. But you know what I will say is, would you rather be Ukraine or the United States?
I'd rather I live in the United
No,
States.
would you rather be?
I wish I could be a country, Tim, but I'd rather, if I could, I would be the United States, all of them.
Everybody would rather be the United States. The United States is the unipolar power now being displaced by an emerging multipolar world with China appearing alongside the U.S., seeking to displace it as the economic powerhouse. Do you want to live in a second or third world country, or do you want to be the empire? So the things the U.S. does overseas, it does to maintain the petrodollar so that Americans don't have to do any work. The problem is Americans don't have baseball and apple pie anymore, so I don't know what you're fighting for. The idea that we're going to go conquer foreign lands and steal their oil, I say, wow, for what? Honest question, for what?
Yeah.
There's no more baseball and apple pie. So I don't know what the point of spending all our money in Ukraine, what's the point of going to Ukraine or Venezuela when they're stealing it to then open the borders and flood everybody into this country who they bombed.
Yeah. Trump literally asked like about the Iraq war. He didn't go into these like intellectual breakdowns or geopolitical discussions. He just said, "Where's the oil?" It's like, but it's like such a good point because it's like if we are conducting these, why are we not like reaping the rewards? We are this empire, and I don't really think there is a way to go back to being a republic. It's where's the benefit?
The benefit is the petrodollar.
Right, but it's like, why is gas more expensive even fall? Like that's the way a lot of Americans think and conceptualize these things.
The issue is we don't have people. So I'm not going to go, I put it like this. You live in a house by yourself. You got pizza every night. You got beer. You got movies. You don't need to rob anybody. You've got everything you need.
Yeah.
The United States enforcing the petrodollar in all these other countries, but it doesn't have any children. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, in 40 years, none of this will matter anyway.
Yeah.
It's going tits up and China's going to take over.
Yeah, like the whole point of having this empire is that you're able to source goods to bring back to your people that wouldn't otherwise be there.
Literally.
But the American empire is the first time probably in human history where we have an empire that's at the expense of the people that are at home. It's like this is completely inverted.
It is very literally get resources, healthy foods, import them, make your populace the healthiest, most intelligent populace on the planet to further dominate. And because of the toxins of the last 100 years of industrial waste that we've been pumping through our society, it's like undermining that intention.
Yeah, the British used to topple civilizations for tea. Like they had a very like raw understanding of like what empire meant. It meant bringing home like resources and value to your people. The American empire, like I said earlier, is just completely inverted.
Do you think that that is because of the end of World War II with the advent of nuclear bombs, nuclear weapons?
No, I just think it's the post-war consensus is like, look, the people that are poised to benefit from the American empire are very far removed from like the middle class. Like typically, if like the British Empire, for the elite, if they would gain these resources and these sorts of things, it would trickle down to the people. Like everyone would reap the benefits. Where American society is so stratified that like the elite reap the rewards, and then it isn't really trickled down to the American people. Trump posited like, hey, what about the oil? That's like something tangible that middle class Americans can grasp. It's like, okay, I can see the benefit of this, but my gas got cheaper.
Yeah.
But I mean, the post-war consensus is obviously a contributing factor of that.
Yeah, so we're like, we're looking at the war in Venezuela, and I think a lot of it has to do with the petrodollar. I think a lot of it has to do with Trump wants the economy to do better.
Yeah.
So here's how you go about doing it. And it's not that we're seizing the oil; it's that we're reintegrating their oil into our market system, which will will increase energy output, which will lower prices, et cetera, et cetera.
It's such a funny. It's not that we're seizing your stuff; we're just reintegrating it into our system.
No, it's
No,
our
the United
oil
States
now.
military is not taking their oil. They go in and shut down Venezuela, and then companies from Europe, the Middle East, and the United States are going to go and start divvying that up. The U.S., we are not seizing their oil.
We just break their
We
spine,
remove their
and then the
governments,
corporations go in for
And
us
then
and do
let
it.
other countries and other corporations go and do whatever they want.
Yeah, that's just,
Certainly. It's called an invasion by force. There you go. My point is, the U.S. military is not going in and taking oil. So we are not doing it.
Yeah, and like that's historic American policy. Like we did that to Japan in the late 19th centuries. We went there to open up their market by force. Like these things, we didn't declare war, obviously, but these things happen. Like this is the way that empires conduct affairs. Is like, no, everyone, if you're going to be in our sphere, which is the Western Hemisphere, is outlined specifically by the national security strategy. It's like, yeah, we're going to go in and impose our will. Granted, I think Venezuela also, like a factor no one's talking about, is that a lot of it too is because there's a huge component of the Trump administration that came from Florida, and in Florida, much of the constituents there are Cuban. They have this long-standing beef with Maduro, and so a huge component of that is them settling that score as well, in addition to the petrodollar opening the market, that sort of thing.
My friends, we're going to head over to the Rumble Uncensored portion of the show, so smash that like button, share the show with literally everyone you know. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. You can join Rumble Premium to watch the uncensored portion. If you haven't, you need to do it. And join our Discord server. Again, follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. Share the show. Del, do you want to shout anything out?
Just want to say, go out and check out this film, An Inconvenient Study. If vaccines are so great, then we should be able to compare vaccinated to unvaccinated kids and show that they're healthier. Henry Ford did that study because I challenged them to do it. Now they're threatening to sue because I put out a film about it. So you may want to check it out, aninconvenientstudy.com.
Thanks for coming, Del. I've said at the top of the show, graphene.movie is where it's at. Go to graphene.movie, sign up for the mailing list, get ready to check out that trailer in this coming week. And you can follow me at Ian Crossland. Happy to be here. The Graphene movie is fantastic. I've seen a little bit of it so far. Happy to be here. Follow me at Ian Crossland, graphene.movie, Tate Brown.
Yeah, X Instagram at Real Tate Brown. Co-host the Across the Pond series on the Culture War channel. We had Orrin McIntyre on Sunday, so go check out that episode. We break down why the GOP are losers. Really, the leaders of the GOP are losers. But yeah, go check that out. See you there.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. The band is All That Remains. We've got a big All That Remains announcement tomorrow, so follow All That Remains on Instagram. It's just at All That Remains. You can check out All That Remains music at Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
We will be over at rumble.com/TimcastIRL in about 30 seconds. Thanks for hanging out.